Chef B. Muhammad's Ramadan How to Eat to Live program. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger, and I bear witness that Master Farrakhan Muhammad came in person to save us, to seek us, taught that man how to eat to live, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad left us with Minister Louis Farrakhan. In their names, I greet you in the words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. We are going to have a wonderful show today. I thank you all for taking some of your Thursday and coming to spend some time with us. Our chef, you can see him back there with all that stuff he got on the stove. So he's getting some final preparations together, and we will have him in just a moment. I just wanted to start with just a couple of things. The first thing is that Brother Brandon and I spoke earlier, and we would like to invite everybody to practice Ramadan with us this year. Okay, so it doesn't make a difference what name you call the God you serve. Pamela Bashir, thank you for coming in. Peace, sister. Regardless of the name that you call them, regardless of what you call your faith, regardless of what, you say you believe in God, let's do a little something together. And Ramadan, for those who don't know, is just a 30-day fast. It's called a fast, but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says it's not a fast. So I will clarify that. A lot of people around the world use the word fast when they are taking themselves away from something, right? So I had a couple of friends of mine earlier this week that said that they were going to fast for 4 days from meat and bread. It was beautiful. So I did it with them, right? So, of course, in 4 days, I only eat twice, and they were eating every day. But the point is that they were pulling some things out of their diet, and they called it a fast. So Ramadan is something similar. From the time we say our morning prayer, which is before dawn, and then the evening prayer that we make, which is after the sun sets, we don't eat any food. We don't drink any fluids, no water, no anything, no sexual relations with your husband or your wife. Try to do our best to refrain from any arguments. Try to refrain from doing anything that's unrighteous. And so for that period of time every day, we are concentrating and trying to submit ourselves and trying to sacrifice some of the things that are regular, everyday things in our life that we want, we desire, and need. And so we give those up to give homage and to give Allah our concentration. Eric Harris, thank you for coming in. Appreciate you, bro. Peace. And so that is what we're inviting everybody to do, regardless of what, again, your religion name is or the name of your spirituality, whatever it is. Let's try to do this in unity. And what we can do is have a daily check-in, right? For anybody that may be having questions that it goes on, or things get tough, or you're not really sure how to do this or do that, we will be a support system for each other. And that will, of course, benefit us by helping us make it through. Okay. Okay. Y'all let me know. Can you hear me? Brother Eric, you said we got sound. So let me know if you all can hear me well, if everything is coming in clear. What I'm going to do is move on to something that I wanted to share with you all. And there is a call. It's somewhat like a song that we say prior to prayer, right? So when the prayer is about to happen, and I know many of you have heard this on movies, right? You hear movies where they make Muslims these evil, diabolical terrorists, right? And so you hear some of these movies where you hear the caller down, Allahu Akbar, and then the thing goes on, right? So I want to turn you all on this brother that I think has the best one I have ever heard. So his name is Andre Muhammad. I'm putting his name up here. I know he's on iTunes and Spotify. So I'm just going to add him up here and let you all see it. Okay. Oh, wait. Ticker. There we go. So again, you can find him on Spotify and iTunes. And personally, my personal evaluation is that this brother has the best Adhan I've ever heard. Okay, so let me see what we got here. Love the support system idea. Yes, sir. Everything is clear. Okay, good. Great. Now, so the first thing that I want to start with after that introductory is how Brother Brandon and I came together and why we decided to do this together. The first thing is I met Brother Brandon a few years ago, and I was either on the verge of contemplating going one meal every other day, or I had just started it. But when I met him, this brother had been doing one meal every other day for a while at that point. And you'll see him in a minute. He does one meal every 3 days now. So I just wanted to mention a couple of things in How Did You Live. First, let me give shout outs. Brittany Muhammad, Dante, Tina, Herbert Wyatt. Thank you all for coming in. Brother Herbert says, need that support. Praise be to Allah. Absolutely. Yes, we're gonna do this together. We're gonna be a team. We're gonna support each other. Sometimes when you get down, somebody else will be strong. Sometimes when you're weak, or somebody else is weak and you're strong, and that's how we make it through this thing, because it can get difficult. As I mentioned earlier, the Hon Elijah Muhammad doesn't call this a fast. The Hon Elijah Muhammad teaches us that to go without food and water, well, not water, but to go without food for 24 hours is a fast. And then he teaches us that fasting 2 to 3 days per month is what we should do to make sure we don't have any sickness. He says that you need to fast at least 3 days for it to be a spiritual fast. Okay. And so that is a 24-hour period without food. So Ramadan, for those of us who practice How to Eat to Live, this is just a little more difficult by not having to drink during the day. It may be difficult for some people not having a relationship with their wife or husband, things of that nature. But in general, from the perspective of eating, we're usually it doesn't extend us too far, because we're pretty much already doing it. Those of us who are following How Did You Live. Lynette Rogers, thank you for coming in. But the point that I'm getting to is, for those who don't practice How to Eat to Live, if this is your first time hearing about it, it's okay. If you plan on practicing Ramadan with us, and we're doing this unity thing, right? Because I just did a show the other day. I don't know if you all have heard it, but I'll give my information a little later. But we talked about the famine that's coming. The famine is talked about in the Quran and the Bible. And if you all are paying attention to the news keeps putting this stuff up about famine coming in biblical proportions. Well, what does that mean for an individual? An individual themselves might be overwhelmed. Oh my God, I'm not going to have anything to eat. What kind of things will go through a person's mind when they're looking forward and saying, I'm going to come somewhere where I don't have anything to eat? But imagine if all of us were growing something. Imagine if all of us came together and put our resources together from our backyards, from our growing containers, or our finances, or somebody has land, but the rest of us don't, and we can all go pitch in on that land. So the reality of famine can be changed depending on our perspective. Danny Muhammad, thank you for coming in, bro. And so that is the format and the thought process going into this reality about doing Ramadan together. Because even if you're not a Muslim and you don't really understand or never have done Ramadan before, cool, do it with us, support us, and we support you. Because when another religious holiday comes, we can join in support with that, as long as it's based in truth. Now, I'm not going to say we're going to be part of, Easter celebrations and Christmas and things of that nature, because we know that that's not based in truth. But if somebody comes to us with something truthful, something that has a meaning to it, and a greater meaning that's going to benefit and grow us and make us better people, then of course we will be willing to do it as a unified force. Because where we are going as Black people, and let me be very clear, there is nobody that's looking out for Black people. So we have to look out for ourselves. But when Black people sit and talk like this, we're not doing a stiff arm to anybody who we can help. That's the charity of our perspective. Go ahead, bring my brother in here. You're looking all good. Go ahead and add him to the screen. Brother Brandon, let me know when you're ready, bro. And so that's what we want to do. Brother Brandon and I want to support you all. We want to be today answer your questions. We want to discuss, of course, some things out of How to Eat to Live and some things that are practical in the Ramadan celebration. And also, Brother Brandon, of course, has some expertise to show you all on that thing in the back of him, which is that stove. Look at him getting his water ready. Come on, bro. Yes, I listened to you and Dr. Wesley. Another great show. Thank you, man. And so that's the introduction. Let me go ahead and hand it over to my brother and let him take it from here for a little bit. Brother Brandon, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can. Very well.
Maybe to a lot. Brother, thank you very much. Most certainly, we hear people say this. And when you actually start doing something that actually requires you to express this, then you begin to understand the true value of it. But I am very grateful and humbled, brother, to be on a broadcast with you as we do this work and attempt to work out our life work, which is in helping the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Make no mistake about it. Everyone has a role in the mission, and one of the greatest things, for us is to know our own role. So it's really a beautiful thing. I'm very thankful, brother, very, very thankful for the opportunity. And Ramadan Mubarak to all who are fasting, which means blessed Ramadan.
That's right.
And we, this is very, very important. Dr. Keely and I were talking earlier this morning, and we expressed something that, we share. When we are making or we are presenting our life's work, things that we're very passionate about, things that we live on and will stand on and will die on because we know the facts of it. Our personalities or our spirit is a little bit different from what might be what you see us outside of this world. And for those who know me, I have a sense of humor. I joke a lot. I love comedy. At one point in time, hidden fact, I was a stand-up comedian. And what I found in that was that some of the most serious people I ever met in my life were stand-up comedians. And the more and more I talked to them and met with them, I began to understand what it is to live out your life's passion. And so when we're doing this, we got friends, we got family, and we love, man, we appreciate you being on there. Share it. Go to our pages, please. Like, share it. Go to Dr. Keely's YouTube page. Go to our Facebook page. Like these pages. What it allows us to do is to be able, puts us in a position to present even more and more and more to you, much more than what you're getting from us today, that's for sure. And so in that, we have friends and family that come on and they like to joke and be jovial. And we understand because we got personal relationships. But we're very serious about this work. And so, it's kind of like when you're playing the dozens. It's like, hey, you could talk about my mama, I talk about your mama, we laugh. But when you say something about my mama that I know is true and only you know is true, and everybody else here don't know that you're talking about, now we getting ready to fight, And so it becomes a spirit that we really want to transmit over to you. And in our personal relationships with our friends and our family, we don't want you to miss the information that we're giving you. If you decide, hey, I want to joke and laugh and talk and play, there's a place for it, believe me. And those of you who know me, I'm down for it. You know this already. But when we're doing our serious work, and we really want to give you as much as we can to help you like we've been helped and to benefit us. That being said, fasting, as Dr. Keely said, those of us who have subscribed to How to Eat to Live as taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he has instructed us that if you want to live a long time, and these are his exact words, if you want to live a long time, then he tells us how to eat to live. That's and part of that is not eating more than one meal a day. During the fast of Ramadan, we do not eat anything from sunrise to sunset. When the sun sets, then we break our fast. If you don't have anything in the morning before sunrise, you may drink some coffee or something like that. But if you don't have anything in between meals, which the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, and I quote, is best to not have anything between meals, and then you eat that one meal, which he said in general is between the hours of 4 p.m. and 6 p.m., then you have fasted for the day. And so a fast for Ramadan, where you say, well, I normally eat at 4 o'clock. Well, this time of the year, it's going to be about 8 o'clock. Well, a little bit more. Right. And so there is some sacrifice there. But what sacrifice would it be if it fell on you in between the hours of 4 and 6 and sunset at 4 o'clock? There's no sacrifice on you unless in your daily routine you have something to drink during the snacking and things, you cut that out. That brings me to another point that has been discussed. He also teaches us that after you have mastered one meal a day, he says go to one meal every other day.
That's right.
Which means, so say for example, today is Thursday. If you ate your meal Thursday, he says don't eat your meal Friday and eat your meal again Saturday. Some of you say, oh Lord, I would die. Well, you might be half dead already, which could you can't comprehend what this life-giving teaching and instruction is for. And if your health does not permit you to do so, well, that's understandable. But for those of us that just like to eat all day, you got some people that eat to live, some people live to eat.
That's right.
And some of us, I have not eaten meat since 1997. My daughter Mecca was born September of 97. So actually I take that back. It was in 96 when I stopped eating meat. And as a result of that, I decided I was going to pick up a vegetarian diet. Not a vegan diet, but a vegetarian diet.
That's right.
And the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that we should not eat the soybean or partake of its oil or any soy products. He says it's too rich for us. It's too rich for our bodies.
That's right.
And you'll start to know when you're eating foods that are rich. And Doc can tell me if it's been his experience as well. But it starts to come through the pores of your skin. There are things, acne, blackheads, some moles on the skin are signs that you have a diet that's too rich.
Absolutely.
And soybeans will do that. Now, me as a vegetarian in 2005, 2006, I was a vegetarian. I wasn't eating one meal a day. Now, I'll be clear with that. But I was a vegetarian at 215 pounds. And you couldn't tell me that I was not eating to live. I was not eating to live. I just wasn't eating meat. But what I was doing was I was slandering the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad by claiming how to eat to live, but I wasn't eating what he said to eat.
Right.
And so in that, I was overweight, 215 pounds as a vegetarian. Now, I don't know too many 215-pound vegetarians standing at 5'8" and a half, even my half inch. Now, I don't know too many that are that size that eat one meal a day. But once I got rid of the soy, I said, you know what? I'm going to stop eating this soy. And some of the companies, I'm not going to name them, but I was eating their products and I stopped doing it. And immediately, weight loss. Immediately, I started losing weight. When I got under 200 pounds, I was so happy. And I'm not talking about something that took 6 months. I'm talking about within a month and a half. I was under 200 pounds simply by eliminating soy from my diet.
Right.
So then I went back to my one meal a day because I had done it before, but I began to rebel. Rebellion shows up in your physical body. It can show up in ailments. It can show up as headaches. It can show up as needing glasses. It can show up as your hearing gone. It can show up as any other sicknesses, diabetes. These are things that we often will develop as a result of rebelling from a proper diet and exercise. Right. So I went to my one meal a day, and then I went into my one meal every other day. In the Nation of Islam, we are taught that we have what's called a national fast. It's a 3-day fast. The first weekend of each month, we'll eat our last meal Thursday night, and we will not eat anything Friday and Saturday or Sunday morning. We may drink some coffee and some water. Some even say tea. Okay. Now, we'll break our fast in the PM on Sunday. And that's what we call our national 3-day fast.
Right.
Well, I've even heard some of our Muslim brothers and sisters of the greater Muslim world who say, you know, brother, that's not Islam. Some will say that is not the Sunnah. Well, I have to beg to differ when you begin to understand the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad, which means the traditions of the Prophet Muhammad. The Prophet Muhammad would oftentimes fast 3 days. And it was said that he would sometimes begin his fast on a Monday, a Tuesday, or a Wednesday. If he did on that Wednesday, he would, or I'm sorry, Tuesday night he would eat. He would not eat Wednesday. He would not eat Thursday. And he would break his fast Friday after the congregational prayers. That's when all of the Muslims come together. So on Friday in the greater Muslim community in the world for our, what we call Juma prayer, that's like going to church on Sundays. Okay, that's when everybody comes.
Right.
So then he would break his fast after that. Well, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us to break our fast after our Sunday meetings. At one time, they began at 2 p.m. and ended at 4 p.m. So we were then still eating between the hours of 4 and 6. And we broke our fast after our congregational meeting and prayer. So I have to say that, yes, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is following the Sunnah of Prophet.
Right. That's right.
He did not have us doing this on Friday because the greater American world was going to church on Sunday.
Right.
And so what he said was, go to church Sunday morning. It is okay. You should do that. Support the church community. He said, but after you go there, then come to our meeting and hear the truth. And this is how he began working in the mission to resurrect us as a people here in North America. Now let's fast forward. Fasting. The holy month of Ramadan. There are, and I had a Muslim doctor one time when I was living in Chicago. When I explained to him that I did not eat every day, one time I was eating every other day. And he said to me, he said, oh, I don't know if that's healthy. And I said, well, doc, when I was in California, I was doing it. And the doctor said all my blood work was clear. Everything was good. I said, do you have my blood work, the results from my blood work? He says, yes, it's okay. He says, you know, you might need some vitamin D. And I said, yes, sir. We're in December, doc. So if you know that vitamin D, you can get that from the sun and the melanin in your skin soaks it up. Well, you know, we don't go out in the cold generally as a people. We don't mess with that cold. We wait for it to warm up. We like some sun, then we go out and get it. So it's not uncommon for us in the Midwest to have vitamin D deficiencies. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that he told us one thing that he said we should stay away from that we overindulged in. He said were white potatoes. And he said they are for those in frigid zones. That's right. I don't know if you've ever been in Chicago in December and January and February, but it feels like what my father used to call a frigidaire everywhere. It is very frigid. It's cold, man. It's cold. And so a baked potato, during that time, a baked potato is high in vitamin D. A baked potato could help you with your vitamin D levels during that time only. All right. Now, if you're not in the frigid zone, if you in LA, if you in Compton, shout out to Mons 54 in Compton, my home, love y'all. If you are there and you know December, you know how it is. Brothers, they used to soldier sell a final card newspaper in December. We'd go out 8 o'clock in the morning and be out there at 5:30 at night. No problems. We weren't cold. We didn't have to bundle up. It wasn't cold in general. So that's not for those who are living in those areas. Now,
that's right.
When I told the doctor that, I said, well, I can deal with vitamin D. It's not a problem. I said, but what about everything else? He says, I don't know about the eating every other day. You sure? I said, doctor, I don't want to say his name, but I said, but aren't you Muslim? And he says, yes. I said, well, from my understanding, in the hadith or the sayings of Prophet Muhammad and some of his companions, they said that he said the best fast was the fast of David. And he said, well, yes, you know, now for those who aren't familiar with the fast of David was, I'm sorry, Daniel. God, not David, Daniel, pardon me. You remember that Daniel was he and his men were in prison.
That's right.
They were told they could get out, but they had to fight to get out. You know, they was really on some, you know, some 300 type stuff. You know, it's like, man, you got to fight to get out of here. So Daniel said, fine, give us the post, let us have our meal, our men, and we'll come back and fight. And so it has been said that the post that he was speaking of, biblical scholars and science, religious scholars have said that that was what we call today the Navy.
That's right.
This is research. You can go find this.
That's right.
The Hon Elijah Muhammad taught us to eat the Navy. He said that that was his teacher, Master Father Muhammad, said that he described no other being for us other than the Navy being. He said the small white ones and the brownish pink ones, the small.
That's right.
And so now we're talking about eating the Navy bean. So of course, naturally, I incorporate that into my diet on a regular. And Daniel also ate every other day. Now the Muslim world is aware of this. And I've had this discussion so many times with Muslims of the Muslim world, and they would say, no, brother, that's not healthy. And I remind them that the Prophet said that was the best fast. They said, no, but fasting all the time. And I said, if you are better, you start the fast in Ramadan, you come out 30 days later, and you say you are much better than you were.
That's right.
Spiritually, mentally, morally, physically, that you are so much better and you feel closer to God in those 30 days, why would you stop?
That's right.
The logic in stopping. And I remind them that what Satan said in the Holy Quran, he told God that he would come in thy straight path. He said, I'll come from before them, from behind them, from their left and from their right. I will come after them, in other words, in righteousness. And I will make them think that unrighteousness is righteousness.
That's right. Make them all deviate. That's right.
Argue with me that it is not healthy. I beg to differ. I have not eaten 2 meals in a row, 2 days in a row. I beg your pardon. Not even 2 days in a row since December of 2008. I ain't missed a meal. I ain't fall out sick. I'm not on my deathbed. If you're not aware, my wife and I, we did come in contact with the coronavirus. And we were asymptomatic. We lost our sense of smell, our sense of taste. And when I tell you smell and taste, I'm talking about things that almost all of us can recognize at any given moment. I would brew coffee in the morning and I could not smell it at all. We know coffee is a strong aroma. I would take a bottle of bleach, open the cap up, stick my nose in it and inhale, and I couldn't smell it at all. It might as well have been water in there. I couldn't smell it. I would take white vinegar and stick my nose over the bottle and inhale deeply. I could not smell it. Coffee grounds, I could not smell it. Vinegar, mustard, things that are very aromatic, I could not smell them. Ginger, I couldn't taste them. Now, I knew what it was because I made it myself, but not being able to taste. The only thing we could taste was if it was sweet, salty, sour, and spicy. That's all, but we couldn't identify what it was sweetening. We didn't know if it was sugar or honey. We didn't know if it was molasses. We didn't know what kind of salt it was. Is it salt from just high sodium? Is it table salt? Is it Himalayan salt? We had no idea. We couldn't tell if it was smoked salt. There was just certain things we could not taste. But we got through it because we continued to eat every 3 days. And when we did eat, we ate the navy bean, we ate whole wheat bread, and yes, for those who want to argue, we drank good, pure, raw milk.
Hey, so your wife is doing every 3 days with you?
Yes, sir. Initially, she was not now, but she began when we began to understand that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan instructed us, make sure that you all are safe during this time because we don't know how things are going to go. Just secure your families. And so she says, well, you know what? I better get used to not being able to just eat when I want to.
Hey, bro, I think while you talking, come a little closer so they can see how young you look, man. Put your face a little closer to that camera, bro.
And if you see any, it look like white or silver or gray, that's not gray hairs, that's glitter growing out my face, right? But we began, and I'm gonna tell you when, and I tell her this every day. This was 3 weeks ago, and I look at her and I tell her, baby, that fast is looking good on you. When you see what it does and you see the changes that it makes on somebody, now mind you, we were quarantined for 14 days, so we ain't even out. So, you know, when you're with somebody every day and you're looking at them, you can't necessarily see the changes and things that you go through.
That's right.
I'm telling you, man, I'm in there every day and I'm looking and I'm seeing it like, man, you need to see yourself. She was FaceTiming the children and her siblings, and they were like, man, look at your skin. Now they weighing another, say, this is on the phone.
Right.
But they could see it. What am I saying? The Most Hon Elijah Muhammad is absolutely 100% correct.
That's right.
Fasting, eating in accord with how to eat to live, reverses the aging process. Now, you might think that there's certain things that come with getting old, like can't get out the bed the same when you're 40. I found that to be real, right? But I also found that it also requires you to exercise. You don't have the same flexibilities that you have if you don't use those muscles.
That's right.
You were 10 and 12 and 20, you can't do the same thing unless you practice that. Your body's not going to do anything that you don't train it and teach it to do, including break down food properly. So you have to strengthen your immune system by not putting poisons in your body every single day, not eating all day long, not eating 2 meals, 3 meals a day. 5 damn sure gonna kill you if you ain't careful. I get it. Well, it's helping me lose weight. 5 small meals a day. I got it. It sped up your metabolism. I understand, but it also sped up your heart rate. Am I right, Doc?
Absolutely.
Now,
and it's not the meal that the 5 meals is not improving the metabolism. It's that most of the time when people are doing that many meals, they're more active. It's activity that increases metabolism, not a meal.
So the activity increases. Wow. Which explains for those who may be overweight, you may need to increase your activity. Simply.
That's right.
Changing your diet. I can say this during Ramadan. Most people say, I don't work out. I love working out during Ramadan. Man, I feel like Lou Ferrigno, the Incredible Hulk. Well, I'll be in the mirror. Y'all don't understand. I'll be like, look at me. And all I did was, 30 sit-ups. I ain't got a 6-pack. I'm good with my 2-pack for right now. But I'm working, right? So it's better. 2-pack beats a keg. All right?
That's right.
But my point is, you are so much stronger. Brother Marcus Muhammad out of Los Angeles. How you, brother? I don't know if you're watching, but I'm shouting you out. Brother Marcus Muhammad loves working out. He loves training. He loves weightlifting. And at one time, brother and his wife would eat me every other day. And he bore witness. He said, man, I'm stronger on the days I'm fasting. Most people don't believe that. You are absolutely stronger on the days you're fasting. Now, you take into consideration, energy is energy. You fill up your gas tank, however much gas your car holds, however many miles you can get on that full tank is all you're going to get. If you know that your energy level is high and when you're full of energy, you know what your limitations are. Don't be trying to double that, talking about, see, it didn't work, I didn't make it. You're going to have enough fuel. So you increase your activity based on the amount of fuel. Now, your energy will increase by fasting and changing your diet. We're not just talking about abstaining from food. We're talking about abstaining from foolishness. Some of us will take Facebook and social media absences. We'll be like, hey, man, I'm out of here for a minute because we run into so much foolishness. We've seen those posts. Oh, I bet if I post this, ain't nobody going to share, but they'll share stuff like this. You're absolutely right. When you go back and look at it, like 2 people share. Because you called that into existence. Now that tells you who's in your circle. That tells you who's in your realm of activity based off the algorithms for Facebook. See, you have to change your intake so that your production changes. Some people you gotta let go of. You just gotta let them go. And in fasting, you'll find that happens. Your energy increases. Doc, how long you been every other day?
This will be my 6th year. I started 6 years ago, right before Ramadan.
Now, let me ask you this, because this has been my experience and experience with others. When you first start that fasting like that, and there have been, you're sharper. You know, you can pick up on things. And I'm going to tell you, people will be lying to you, and you know they're lying. You can't necessarily prove it.
That's right. Yeah.
You experience that?
Absolutely. And then I also have to bear witness to what you said about working out, because what I do is I work out on the fasting days. Like I eat on even days. I eat on odd days and I fast on even days. And so I work out on even days and my energy level is just skyrocketed on the days that I am going to eat, you know, or if I try to work out after I eat, I have no energy whatsoever. And let me point this out, bro, while you're making those excellent examples. I want to just paint a picture, and we have some good questions I want to get to as well. There's a section in How to Eat to Live where Hon Elijah Muhammad speaks about if you could put a pile of all the food you ate in your life in one pile and look at that, you would be amazed at how much food you have consumed in a lifetime. And so for those that are here watching the show, I want you to consider that reality, right? Now, here it is that Brother Brandon is eating 1 meal every 3 days. Your brother Akili is eating 1 meal every 2 days. And consider yourself, again, like we want all of you to fast with us. And even if you try, you're going to make some benefits and some sacrifices and some improvements. But the point that I'm getting to is just looking at this picture. If you eat 3 meals a day and you snack in between those meals, or you snack in between one of those meals and you snack before you go to bed at night, a so-called midnight snack, just imagine in your mind what you eat in 1 day and then multiply that what you eat in a year. And so a person's pile that is eating multiple meals and snacks, can you imagine how big it is? And then imagine how big mine is, because I eat every other day. Mine is going to be pretty high too. But we'll all be looking down at Brand. Brandon's going to be looking up at me, and I'm going to be looking up at you. But I'm just giving that as a visual picture, because sometimes we have to be able to take things and be able to digest them so we can really understand it. And I really want you all to think about that. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad uses the analogy of water dripping on a stone. And I'm sure most of us have had something like that happen in a house, or we've visited somebody's house where you see that rock that's under that spigot, just a little bit of drip, and you see a hole in that rock after a while. So imagine you are digesting, absorbing, having to eliminate all of that food that you can imagine looking up to, because you've been eating that way, not for a year, but you've been eating that way for 20 or 30 years. That pile of food would amaze you if you saw it all at one time. And so that's another thing to take in consideration when we're talking about eating 1 meal a day, eating 1 meal every other day, eating 1 meal every 3 days. I know it sounds strange. It sounds strange to anybody that hasn't considered it before. But if you just take a little time and just think about a few things, and then go and do some research on intermittent fasting, do some research on Methuselah mouse, do some research on calorie restriction, because what the enemies of God are never going to do is give God's man credit. So nobody's going to go on social media, on the internet in general, and say, hey, we got this intermittent fasting from that man. They're not going to say that. That's why they call it different words.
Absolutely.
But the point that I'm getting to, everybody, is if you consider those things I just finished saying, intermittent fasting, calorie restriction, and Methuselah Mouse, if you do a search for that, you are going to have millions, and I do mean millions, of articles about how long periods in between meals is going to get you better health, longevity, and decreasing or reversing the aging process. And so we're saying it in a way that it originally was given in this book. And other people are saying it in different ways. But the point is that the science is saying all over the world that the less you eat, the better your health, the longer you will live, and the younger you will look.
That's right.
So you want to get to a couple of these questions, bro?
Yes, sir. We can start in.
Okay, cool. So Brother Danny asks, well, actually, the first person to ask the question was Brother Herbert C. White. He says, does the good brother Brandon have a YouTube cooking channel? Not yet, but we had a discussion today, bro. He's going to get one soon.
Right.
I don't know if I talked him into it, but I definitely talked to him about it. So we're going to have to do that soon.
It is coming. And and you didn't have to talk me into it, but you certainly did. You keyed in, brother, to the energy, and it's funny because when we first met a few years ago, we were talking, and it's a consistent thing with us.
That's right.
You would say to me, you called me my mind. You said I was your mind.
Bro.
Because I was saying the things that was on your mind.
That's right. But like nobody else in the room. There was nobody else in the room that it was. I'm bearing witness to everybody here. This brother would say things. And I'm like, man, I was just thinking that. Remind me, bro, was I just starting one meal every other day, or was I thinking about going into it? Because you were doing it.
You had started it. You had started.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. But it works both ways.
That's right.
And so, every time I'm talking to you, I see your videos. I just like, man, that's what I'm talking about. You all, sometimes you all can see me watching some of these videos, and you think I'm crazy, but I get so hyped there when I hear us stand on this truth,
right.
and push it. So, Brother Danny, and others, God willing, it will be coming soon, and
yes,
we're certainly looking forward to it.
That's right. Okay, so Brother Danny asked a couple other good questions, man. He says, what does soy do to males and females? And then he said, how important is eating in the described manner help us during this plague? So I'm going to take a quick shout out, and then I'll give it to you. As far as what does soy do to males and females? First of all, I did a show a couple of weeks ago about the navy bean, so please go check that out. We talked a little bit in that video about the soybean. The soybean, as the Hon Elijah Muhammad teaches us in How to Eat to Live, is too rich, meaning that when you break it down, the ability to serve the body, the human body, is not the same as how it serves animals. It is originally a food for cattle, and Black people started eating it during slavery. It was never a diet of ours before we came to this country. The other aspect about it that is very bad on us is the phytoestrogens. They are, for sure, causing femininity in men and masculinity in women. The sperm count and the testicular size of a lot of animals around the world, and the sperm count in human men in this country has steadily been going down over the last 30 years. The hirsutism is a word that we mean when a woman has male hair patterns. So if you see a woman with hair here and on her chest and looks like she shaves or uses Magic Shave or whatever, that is what we call hirsutism. That is a masculinity of a female. So those are the two things from a physical perspective that happens to males and females. There's a lot more. We're not going to go all the way in depth, but I pray that answers your question, Danny. And then how important is eating in described manner help us during this plague? I think my brother Brandon just covered that, but I'll let him go into any more if he wants to answer that. And another thing he said, Brandon, did you continue to eat as you eat when contacted with the coronavirus?
Okay.
Can you see the questions?
Sir?
Can you see the questions?
No. I
Okay.
can't see them where I'm sitting.
Okay.
But I can hear them. That's perfectly fine. But certainly, brother, the benefits are which leads into your next question. It increases your immune system. It builds your immune system. It strengthens it. And Dr. Keeley gave a very good example of that with the talk on Do the Math. You all haven't seen it, man. I'm telling you, go back and see that.
Praise
We
to
got we got some heavyweight champions in the nation, man. I'm telling you. You all need to go back and watch that. But I'll say this, brother he gave a very good analogy of it. But you walk into a store and there's security guards that are walking around securing everything, making sure that nobody's stealing, making sure that everything functions properly. Hey, put that up. Don't do this, do that. You know, you try to get up out of there, but something don't belong to you. They attack you, they pounce on you. He said that is how the immune system works.
That's right.
When there is something that is foreign in the body. And so what we have done is we have, based off of our rebellion to good instruction and good guidance through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Most Hon Elijah Muhammad, we have built up rebellious immune systems. And so some of us, and I'm going to put it a certain way so you understand what I mean, some of our immune systems will see something foreign and be like, man, somebody else will have to do that. Man, I've been at work all day. I've been at work all day. And what happened? You get sick.
Yeah.
You didn't overwork it. You overworked it. Now, none of us like to be overworked. Okay? We the first ones want to tell the boss what we ain't gonna do.
Right.
You know? But you overwork your immune system. And so it can't fight for you. It's tired. And you have to build it up. You have to let it work. You have to let your digestive system rest. And so during that whole episode, when we were dealing with COVID-19, we absolutely continued with our diet. Most certainly did. And that's actually when my wife stepped hers up.
That's right.
And as a result of that, we were looking at each other. I'm talking about, when I tell you physically, other than the loss of sense and smell, one day I did have a fever. I did. And I took a Tylenol. You know, I said, I'm not going to play with this. I'm not spooky. I don't know what's in that cabinet that's going to bring this fever down right now. But I knew that Tylenol would. So I did take that. Okay. Fever came down. I sweated out, went showered. We were good from there. We didn't experience anything else. Some body ache here or there. But our spirits were so good. We continued to feed ourselves properly, spiritually. We continue to have our discussions. We planning about how we gonna come out of this and what we gonna do. And we were trying to discuss, man, what is our assignment? We got to, because everybody was not, everyone did not contract the virus.
Right.
Every member of the Nation of Islam did not and has not. But we know we did. We know our family members did. So we were like, man, we got an assignment. And that's how we looked at it. And your mind and your spirit has to be right. And if your immune system is not right and your body is breaking down, it's hard to keep your spirit together.
That's right. Excellent points. Excellent points, brother. Brother Danny, he laughed at rebellious immune system, but let us know if we answered your question, bro. Got another real good question. Darlene Paisley, thank you for coming in. Brittany Muhammad, thank you for coming in. She asks, when is it a good time to start my baby on pureed navy beans? I'm afraid it might make him gassy at 6 months.
Doc, you want to answer that, or you want me?
Okay, yeah, I'll take a. Let me try to give her a little something. Sister Brittany, I would say that pureed navy bean soup is probably the best thing to give your child if you're going to make the transition from your breast milk to food. And of course, every mother knows their child better than anybody else. So you will know when your child is ready, right? When children start looking at you eating solid food or watching what you're eating and looking like they're interested, that's when a child's body is starting to go in the direction of being able to digest. But the key about the navy bean is that it helps build the digestive system. Mm-hmm. And so I would say that one of the things that you could do to either see if your child is ready or to get your child ready, if you're pumping any of your breast milk, would be to pump some and put a little puree, just a very little pureed bean soup in there, shake it up really well, and let them eat that and see how they do. The reality is that if your child has gas from a navy bean, then that should be expected. The class of food called the legumes, they cause gas. Now, the lima bean and the kidney bean and the black eyed pea and all those things that we eat as black people, again, out of slavery, they cause a lot of gas because we don't
Right.
have the ability to digest them well. But even the good beans are going to cause some gas. It's just part of the reality of how that food works in the system. But that's not a bad thing. Typically, when a child or an adult is eating the right amount of fiber in their diet, which navy bean is going to do a very good job of giving that, gas doesn't cause a lot of pain because the gas is going to continue moving through the system and it's going to come out very easily. So as long as you can stand the smell of your child's butt trumpet, which usually in small children is not that bad. But I mean, that's really the only thing. Your child, if you're breastfeeding now, you have done the supreme thing, and we applaud you for breastfeeding your child in a society that promotes against it. But I think the ideology that you have of going in the direction of bean soup is a great idea. You are setting your child up to have a beautiful future in so many different reasons, especially the spiritual reason, tying that child to God, because you're doing exactly what God produced you to do for your child. And so just take your time and introduce it slowly and watch your child grow into not only loving navy bean soup, but growing and maturing at the maximum ability. So let us know if we answer. Go ahead, bro.
No, I said absolutely.
Yes,
I'm doing witness.
yeah. Let us know if we answered your question. Did we give you enough information, sister?
I'd like to add too, sister. Remember, that the enemy. You go into the grocery store and they have an aisle full of baby food in jars. They have carrots. They have green beans. There's food that is pureed.
That's right.
And we call table food, right? In reality, it's farm to table food. And so we can't remove ourselves from the process of understanding that. I'll tell you what Dr. Ling told my mother some years ago. He was treating her. He was restricting her diet, and she said, "Man, I can't eat nothing." And so he said, when you pick up food and it got a label on it, do you read it? She said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Where the label come from?" And she said, "The people that make it." He said, "God don't make food with labels."
That's right. That's right.
We have to get back to our God self.
That's right.
Okay? So pureeing the navy bean and the green bean and the carrot. The devil even makes peach cobbler for the baby in these jars.
That's right.
You go in there, they got lasagna. They have all of these different things that we don't necessarily want to give our babies out. But if you want to start your baby on some food. The Hon Elijah Muhammad said that yes, you can give them the bean soup. He said, but do not make it as strong as you make yours.
Right.
Do not over season it as you would season yours.
That's
Baby
right.
don't need all of that salt and cayenne. Right. Don't need a whole bunch of garlic and onion, and it don't need that. But you introduce it, as Dr. Keeley said, and using your breast milk is a good way to do that. Now remember, we soak our babies.
That's right.
24 hours. And in soaking them, we're doing it to remove it. What my wife does, she'll soak hers for 48 hours. She'll soak them, pour it off. She'll put some more. She might do that 3 or 4 times before they even hit the pot, and she starts cooking.
Right.
Now, remember this. We have matter. Matter comes in 3 forms, which is solids, liquids, and gas. And so when you are, one of the things you can do to help remove the gas from the beans is you can puree your beans. Now, pureeing them, as you puree them as they're hot. You can use what's called an immersion blender or a stick blender. And during the demo, I'm going to use mine so you all can see what it looks like and how it works if you're not familiar. Or you can puree your beans for the baby in a blender. What's going to happen is you're going to see this steam that comes out of there. Steam is gas.
That's right.
It helps to take the gas with it. So the steam is water, but there is gas in the bean. And it will help you can help remove some of that didn't come out in the soaking process by pureeing your beans. and it is easier on the stomach for the baby and some of us.
Yeah, bro. Great segue because Brother Danny asked another good question. What are some safe seasonings that can be used, and do you have your own?
Safe seasonings?
Yes, sir. You know, and the one thing that I will say that maybe you can incorporate this well is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad mentions in How to Eat to Live that don't use a lot of herbs and spices in your food. He said a little salt and a little pepper. And, you know, a lot of us use sage and seasoning salt and turmeric, and we use a lot of different things. So what's your experience, and what's your reality on what may be good and what may be not bad? Let me get a couple shout outs before you answer that. El Cid Abuja, thank you for coming in. Shaniqua Muhammad, she said, what? Brandon Caswell Muhammad, you know we would have brought you some milk.
Praise to Allah. Yeah. Sister Shaniqua, we did go get some. Thank you. Sister did and give us the address and location where we can get raw milk at here in the Dallas area, and we've been going ever since. So thank you, sister. Now I'll say this, because we do want to get to the questions, but here's what I'll say. In the culinary field, you have what's called seasonings. In culinary sciences and art, seasoning is salt and pepper. That's seasoning. Okay. Now, don't overindulge in salt or pepper. All right. Now, what we have, which are herbs and spices, those are different from seasoning, and we use those to flavor our food. So what happens is you'll take certain herbs. You might take basil, and you dry that basil out and you break it down and pulverize. You can end up with, I'm sorry, I apologize. You can take that and break it up, and you can put it in a blender or a spice grinder, whatnot, and you can end up with ground oregano, ground herbs. Okay. You can do the same thing with dehydrated onion, dehydrated garlic. The dry spices that you generally find, that comes from fresh food. So the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that the fresh food is best. Now, he also said he understands that we won't have access to it all the time, but herbs you can grow in your kitchen.
That's right.
You can go to the grocery stores right now, and they're generally in season. You can find the basil, you can buy cilantro, you can find, the herbs are there. You can grow them right in your kitchen or in the windowsill. Those you can dry out if you want. Dry herbs are a little bit stronger than the fresh herbs. Okay. Now, with that being said, the demonstration we're actually going to do today, I'm using dry spices on purpose because I know most of us will have them in our cabinets. But trust and believe, my wife makes sure we do have fresh herbs in here. And sometimes we go back and forth because they take up space in the refrigerator. But she's absolutely right. She's 100% correct. We should have them. And so you can use those. Those are the good ones, and try your best to get organic. I hope I answered your question, brother.
Yeah, I think you did. Let us know, Brother Danny. So Carl Brown says, I'm coming to a point that eating once a day is getting too stuffed for me. Sounds like it's time for you to go to one meal every other day, my brother. And let me make this clarification. You know, a lot of people say they make a statement that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, once you master 1 meal a day, go to 1 meal a day. He never said master. And all the times that he talked about going from 1 meal to 1 meal every other day, he said, when you get used to eating 1 meal a day.
You're right.
Never use the word master. So nobody has to think that there's something that's like any goal. When you get to a point where you think that you want to go to the next step, or when you get to a point where you say, for some reason, physically, I think I'm a little overweight. That's the reason why I went from 1 meal a day to 1 meal every other day, is because I was doing 1 meal a day, I think, pretty proficiently. My wife says I was doing it about 85%, and I would agree with her. But I still was carrying a little extra weight that I didn't want. And that's when I went to 1 meal every other day. And when I'm doing 1 meal every other day the way I'm supposed to, I'm satisfied with the way I look. I'm satisfied with the way I feel. No aches and pains, great energy, nothing negative. Another shout out to you, Brother Brandon. Tracy Harris says, I know Brother Brandon is a vegetarian, but is he pescatarian? I'm asking because I've been toying with the idea of going vegetarian and opting to do a largely fish-based diet in its place. By the way, he and his wife, By the way, he and his lovely wife look exactly the same as they did in college 25 years ago. Lots of beautiful skin. So their diet plan clearly has merit. Yeah, it does. Because he looked like if we went back in the day and we was hanging out, he would get ID'd all the damn time.
It's funny is when I go back to homecoming in college, my children are students there. I often get confused with being a student there. And I had an instructor one time. He says, let me ask you something. He said, how do you look so young? Like, what are you doing? This was one of my instructors when I was there. And I said, Doc, it's the same thing that I did when I was here. I said, I told you I stopped eating so much.
All right.
He said, you did tell me that. I said, yes, sir. So to answer your question, no, I personally, I'm not a pescatarian. I haven't eaten fish since 1996 as well. That's when I gave up the fish. And that was just a personal desire of mine. Because the Hon Elijah Muhammad said to us, he said that it's best that no animal or no meat is good for you, is what he said. And so I was just going after, some will call me a little extreme. And, and I was okay with being extreme. I'm still okay with it. And not long ago, maybe about 8 or 9 years ago, I asked the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, are the extremities of how to eat to live, like the every other day, the eating every 3 days, the vegetarian diet, plant-based, as it's called now, is that something that we're going to get to? He said, oh, brother, we're there now.
Yes, sir.
That was about 8 or 9 years ago.
Yes, sir.
So the extremities of it, because we do not grow our own food.
That's right.
We do not know what's in the soil. We do not know what they're putting in these foods. We are eating, even when we grow our gardens and things, we're not using heirloom seeds. We can't reproduce what we grow after we grow it. So until we get some land, which the Hon Elijah Muhammad says is the basis for independence, then the best thing you can do for your health is limit what the enemy gives you access to.
That's right.
Now, I've said before, I said, hey, when I go ahead and get my 4,000 acres of land, I'll have a pond, a lake, there. I said, I don't know. I might eat some fish if I want to. I don't know.
That's right.
I didn't stop eating it because it was nasty. I enjoy it, especially when you squeeze lemon and hot sauce. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I enjoyed it.
Yes.
But that's not why I stopped eating. That's not why I stopped eating meat. I stopped because I want to live a long time and I want to be healthy.
Beautiful, beautiful answer. And so I will just add on to my brother, sister. Your question is beautiful because it sounds to me like you are making an adjustment and you are making some changes and going in a different direction. And if you came away from chicken, turkey, beef, lamb, or any other meats, you are going in the right direction. I always tell people that the progressive way to do things is not to come from eating 5 meals a day and eating meat at every meal and then try to get like Brother Brandon tomorrow. The process is to take your time and go in a correct way. And so, Tracy Harris, the best meat is the fish. Just make sure you keep it within 10 pounds or less. And, there are signs. I saw somebody mention Whole Foods. They actually have signs in Whole Foods in the fish department where they tell you, right there, they're telling us information that bears witness to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They say when you're eating large fish like tuna and shark and other things like that, they have higher levels of mercury and lead in them.
That's
Plus
right.
the meat is tougher. So you can get a shark or a tuna that's 1,000 pounds big, and that meat can be just as tough as eating fish. Not that fish with that big of an animal. The meat can be just as tough as eating lamb and beef. So you're doing a good job by going in that direction. And the one other thing that I want to add to that is, of course, we want to keep this conversation in conjunction with Ramadan. And what Brother Brandon is doing is a long period in between his meals. What Brother Akili is doing is long periods in between his meals. It's just not as long as Brother Brandon's. And so this is why we want everybody to try Ramadan with us, because for a typical person, and even us, I know I drink water every day.
Yes,
I drink coffee sometimes. Right. So during Ramadan, we're going to be going longer periods of time with nothing going in our system. And so it's going to be a benefit to everybody. And so for the plague, Brother Brandon mentioned about eating long periods that helped him and his wife get over the plague. We're talking about long periods of time that are going to produce an improved immune system. It's going to give you longer life. And so as we go towards famine, as we go towards dealing with Ramadan, and as we go towards dealing with diseases in general, you are listening to how you take yourself in a better direction. So all of those things are improved with the way that we're talking about eating today. And I want to leave us with this until we get to the next question. And that is, please understand that there's a difference between drinking water and hydrating, right? The definition of hydration is water with other substances.
That's right.
And so everybody has probably seen a river before, right? A river typically runs downhill in this country, because in other countries it can go in different directions. But here we go from north to south, it runs downhill. And that's the same way water does in the human body. If you drink water like you just saw Brother Brandon do, it's going to go where? Down by gravity into his stomach. And then after the water is introduced to the blood, after that absorption of that water, which takes no work, then the blood takes the water everywhere it needs to go. And then it comes out of the bloodstream and just flows. The difference between drinking water and hydrating is that what's in the water when you hydrate, meaning nutrients, that is like opening a door into the cells where you put those nutrients and that water in a cell. And so it is most important when we finished our fast every day to concentrate on water first, not food. Please don't hear the adhan and run to the kitchen unless that's where your water is. But don't run to food, please. The most healthy thing to do for a GI system is to keep it moisturized. Put your hand in your mouth and feel the inside of your cheek. You know, this might sound kind of crazy, you all, but when we do rectal exams and other type of exams, when we're testing a person's rectum for cancer, whatever we're doing, it's moist in there. The inside of a woman's vagina is moist. The inside of our urethra is moist. The inside of the eyelid and your nose is moist. Why? Because things in the human body work better because we're 75% water.
That's right.
And so when the adhan rings and you're going to go and do your prayer, because that's what we should be doing, is breaking the fast with water. I mean, I say what we should be doing. I think what is best for us to do is to break the fast with water and then pray, because you need some time for the water to get into the system and moisturize things. Here in Texas, we're going to be going 13 hours approximately in between the first prayer and when we break our fast. That's a long time to go without any fluid in the body. So it's best to put some water, hydrate in the morning. And the way that I hydrate is I put sea salt in my water, a teaspoon of sea salt in my water, shake it up. So in a bottle like this, I would put 1 teaspoon of sea salt in there, Celtic sea salt, drink that, follow it up with another one or another couple. And that's it for me for the whole day. But when the adhan goes off, I'm probably going to drink a couple of bottles of these, go to my prayer. And then by the time it's time to eat, now I have moisturized my system to a little bit. So let me know if you, all of you that are listening, does that make sense? Does it make sense why we should hydrate and drink water before we go to eat? And if there are any more questions, Brother Brandon, you want to add anything to that?
Yes, it's something that I do want to address, and I've seen it, and I've been asked several times throughout the years. I even had one person told me I was crazy for doing it. But the question is, during Ramadan, do I continue to eat every 3 days? Or when I was eating every other day, do I continue to eat every other day? And you expressed that you too will continue to eat every other day, and I absolutely will continue to eat every 3 days. Right. Part of the fast is that we are sacrificing. It's the idea of sacrificing something that God has blessed us with that someone else does not have.
That's right.
There are many starving people out there.
That's right.
And then there's some who aren't starving, but they don't have good quality food. All right. So we're sacrificing having water. We're thankful, we're showing our thanks that we do have access to water. There are millions of people who don't have access to no water.
That's right.
And so it is a sacrifice for me to continue to eat 3 days, every 3 days, and fat. Now, if I go back to eating every other day, that's not a sacrifice. I'm winning. That's the grand prize. Like, man, I'm eating more. You know, when there was a time, there was 1 year that, and this goes right to your point about breaking the fast with water. There was 1 year, brother, I gained weight during Ramadan.
Wow.
And I was killing bean pies every night. Full of sugar, brother.
Right. That's right.
Sugar.
That's right.
And that sugar turned to fat.
Absolutely.
And I was trying to figure out, how am I gaining weight during Ramadan?
Right.
To the point to some believers were saying, are you sure you fast? You're not fasting. It was noticeable.
Right.
The best way that I found to break your fast, if your health doesn't require you to have anything else, is just some room temperature water. If you have to warm it up just a little bit, don't shock your body, but absolutely water. Then you get into your food, and I suggest a soup, which we will be doing. Just to let you know, we will be doing a bean soup tonight for the demo, and it is just one of the things that I recommend. That's something you can do in advance and ahead, so you can taste it, so you know it's already seasoned. But we can go to the next question.
Okay, well, let me know when you're ready to do that demo, bro. Lynette Rogers says, where do you get whole raw milk? Can you speak about the benefits, if any, or danger of almond and coconut milk? I will, we had that conversation earlier, right? I would, what I'll do, Sister Lynette, is I will put a link in the comments at the end of the show, which is a website that you can go to, put your zip code in, and then put the radius of where you live, and it'll tell you the places that sell whole milk. There are not a lot of states that allow whole milk to be sold in the stores. I know California is one, and I have to go do some more research because I know I think there are about 2 other ones, but I don't remember them right off the top of my head. But typical grocery stores do not have good milk from a cow source. And I'm gonna let my brother deal with that almond and coconut milk.
Generally, if you want to find raw milk, the general rule is you cannot sell raw milk unless you own the cows. So you will find some dairy farm that may sell it if it is legal in the state, and they cannot wholesale it to you and you go back and retail it because you don't own the cow. So that's another thing. And brother, will post that for you. Put in your zip code. I know exactly what he's talking about, and it will tell you where you can get it. Also, there are a group of you. One person, it might be a great distance. One person may have to go get it for 20 people and load it and then bring it back, which is not selling it. You just one person is going to purchase for everyone else. Now, the raw milk and the almond milk, I am lockstep with Dr. Aline. Milk does not come from an almond.
That's right.
It don't come from a soybean. Milk
or rice.
Or rice. Right. Milk comes from breast. And with that said, it's another trick, honestly, that the enemy is playing on us, to where they'll call it milk, and so we call it milk. They'll call what we have in the store butter, so we call it butter. They call us colored, so we call ourselves colored. We have to understand that the product itself is not necessarily what it's promoted and sold. But rice, I'll tell you, it was a home remedy. And let me say this, Master Prophet Muhammad told the Most Hon Elijah Muhammad, the kitchen is the medicine cabinet.
That's right.
And so in that, what I like to say to the chefs is that, well, if the kitchen is the medicine cabinet and we're in the kitchen and we're cooking, then we have a duty. And where do you go to get medicine? You go get it from the pharmacist. We're not the doctors, but we may sit in the role as the pharmacist, and we can tell you, for that, this is what you need, and you need to take this much of it.
That's right.
The doctor would diagnose you and tell you what your issue is, and we can tell you, here, drink this, eat this. This is what our grandparents used to do. And they send you back outside, and my granny used to say, oh, you're going to school tomorrow, because we thought we were staying home. But no, we certainly were well enough. Right. Rice milk or rice water are some of the things. My grandmother used to give that to the children when they were suffering from diarrhea. It was a high starch content, and the starch was there to help, I guess, to harden the bowel some. Uh, and in that process, it was something that they would just kind of sip on and drink to get through that and keep it from dehydrating. But it certainly is not something that I promote. If you want rice milk, take you some rice and some water and throw it in there and drink that starch water. I wouldn't suggest it. And the same, with the almonds, which is the same with the coconut milk. And when you crack a coconut open, it has what's called coconut water, and that is a juice, I guess, of the coconut. But what coconut milk is when that coconut is ground up with the coconut water and it's strained, and you just have pureed coconut. Now, we were advised to not eat coconut. Any nuts is what the Most High Muhammad said. They do not eat any nuts. And maybe at another time we'll get into the discussion of the almond, if that's okay with you, Doctor.
Yeah, because that's going to take some time. We're going to get a lot of questions on that one. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. But hey, you know what? God willing, we'll do something in a few days if our schedules allow us, and we can deal with the almond.
Absolutely. We'll have to do that. And then all of you that are here, let us know if you would like for us to come back and do some shows. I'm sure you all will, but kind of, give us some ideas of how can Brother Brandon and I come and talk about like particular foods. And then he can, while we're talking, he can be showing, it can take me off the screen. You can hear my voice, but we'll let him do his demonstration. If those type of things will help you all, look, I'm telling you all, the two of us are interested in you all getting good information. That's the reason why the flyer was for yesterday, and we're doing it today because we really wanted to hurry up and do something for you all before Ramadan. Yeah, and we kind of just miscommunicated, but we got it together. But our purpose of being here is to make sure that you all go into Ramadan feeling more confident. If this is your first one, if you've never done it before, if you don't practice Islam, or if you do practice Islam, this is to make you more confident and have more skills going into what we're starting as a beautiful ceremony celebration tomorrow. Okay, so you all let us know in some of the comments. C. McDonald says, Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Keeley, what is the purpose of soaking the bean? Excellent question. So the first thing I'm going to say is I'm going to put my information at the bottom before we get off the show. You all go check it out. I did a whole show with a brother named Tariq Muhammad, who actually has done extensive research in studying the navy bean and doing a lot of experiments with the navy bean. But my understanding is that the purpose of soaking the bean is that a bean and a seed is God's way of protecting the nutrients in that particular food. They serve as the ability for that food to live into another generation. So the bean and the seed is inactive. So when we take the bean and we soak it, like we're talking about 24 hours to 48 hours, the water is activating the nutrients in there from being dormant and in a state that they just are going to sit there and chill to now activating to benefit you and your body. Now, what happens if you go too long in soaking the bean, they'll start to sprout, meaning that now they're trying to start into a plant. And so some of the nutrients that could have served you are now growing a plant, and that's a different state that the bean is in than when we're supposed to eat it. So for 24 hours to 48 hours, you activate the nutrients in that bean. And then the purpose and the reason why we have to cook that is because the navy bean has anti-nutrients in it as well. To do what? Keep away bugs. And so the heat and the soaking is activating nutrients, and the heat is breaking apart those anti-nutrients so that everything in that bean can serve you when you eat it. Chew it correctly, swallow it, and then let it be digested. And again, let me say this. For those of us who don't know, drinking after you have chewed and swallowed your food is a disruption of digestion. Think about it. When you chew something, the mouth is producing saliva, which is acidic. You swallow that into your stomach, which is the highest acidity that we have in the human body. It takes acid to help break down foods. So if you have swallowed food that you chewed well and your stomach is breaking it down and all that acid is in your stomach, what happens when you drink a soda or juice or water? Those things that we're drinking are more alkalinic on the pH scale. And so you dilute your digestive acid, slow down or abort the digestion process. And so you either cause the body to have to do more work, or you flush stuff into your intestines that's not ready to be absorbed. So please do your drinking prior to your eating, not just in Ramadan, but always. Okay? So let us know if we answered that question. Anything you want to add, Brother Brandon, on that Navy bean?
It's like any bean. If you notice the bean, it's shaped like an embryo. And we are taught that water is life. Where there's water, there's life. And so the water helps to bring life back to that seed, to that bean, to that legume. And in that, there's life for us in eating it. So we are soaking it. It gives life back to it, and it helps to also remove some of the gas from it that can be painful. And it also cuts down on your cooking time as well.
That's right. Okay, so Shaniqua shouted you out, bro. Donna Carter says, thank you for the work that you do. Thank you, ma'am. Herbert C. Wire, you asked why, what is the natural remedy for AFib, irregular heartbeat, besides blood thinners? Brother, I'm going to have to answer that specifically because I don't want to give any answers that people can take out of consideration. So I'm going to put my information up. Please contact me. But in general, there are so many things that can cause an irregular heartbeat or AFib. We would have to have a discussion on what are the potentials that cause it to happen. And then I do believe that irregular heartbeats can be improved. I've seen it happen in many people, but I don't want to get specifically on that in this show because sometimes people can misconstrue information and I don't want to cause anybody harm. So I hope you understand. Again, I'll put my information up and you can contact me and we can get busy on that if you like. How are we looking on time, bro? You still got enough time to do what you need to do?
Oh, yes, sir. And I'll say this as well. As long as the people want to be here, I don't have to rush. So
Yeah, me either.
what I'm going to do, the demo, I can be done in about 20 minutes.
Okay.
So I don't have to rush. I'll totally leave it up to you and the viewers. But I can say to answer the questions, and I'm perfectly fine.
Okay. Praise the God we serve. Okay, so let's get to the next one then. That's Fitzroy Muhammad says, I'm a long distance truck driver and eating can certainly be a challenge for us because we're not exposed to the best kind of food. How can I extend the bean soup that I have and make it last? That's definitely an answer for the brother chef.
It is very, very simple. One simple way, let me say that. You can can your food. All right, in the canning jars. And if you don't know how to do it, believe me, brother, there are many, many members of the Nation of Islam who can help with that. And it's something that we can help, my wife and I can help instruct you with that. I do know that there is a sister in Chicago, Sister Carmela Muhammad, one of the owners of the Foodie Spot. She is selling Navy bean soup as well that you can order. Now, in addition to that, if you are on the road and you're familiar with some of the equipment that you all can use, you can plug into the cigarette lighters and whatnot to keep your food warm. But there's a brand of cooling and heating supplies, Yeti. All right, and a Yeti. I use a Yeti for my coffee. We love it. You know, I've had coffee that I put in at 8, 9 in the morning, and I might not get back to it until about 2 or 3 p.m. and it's still hot. Now the long distance, I understand you may be talking in terms of days, but you may have to just get your food, the Navy bean in the jars. And remember this: there's more than one way to partake of the Navy bean. A lot of times when we think Navy bean, we're thinking only soup, or we're thinking only pie. And we're the same group of people in the Nation of Islam who said God came to us. Okay? Now, if you're saying the one God, the supreme being over everything that is in existence, came and taught Elijah Muhammad, and then he taught you, and the most you can come up with is soup and pie, then you have to start questioning your own level of study. Not you particular, Brother Roy, but I'm saying in general, we have to question our level of study and our level of faith and our level of belief. Now, he said that we must eat the bean. He didn't say you must eat bean soup. He didn't say you must eat bean pie. He said you must eat the bean. And so in some of the videos that will be coming out, Brother Danny asked about the YouTube channel earlier, there are some navy bean recipes that we are going to be doing that you can see you can do with it. If you go on Amazon, you can get the cookbook. Chef Brandon is How to Cook to Live with Chef Brandon and Family. There's a recipe in there for a protein smoothie. The protein is from the navy bean. That came out of not wanting bean soup every night. Sometimes it was just too hot. I didn't want a bowl of soup. It's 100 degrees outside. I don't want to be sitting there with a 180-degree bowl of soup.
Right.
And you're sweating. And so, but I still wanted to get the navy bean in. And so Allah blessed me to just say, hey, you know what? Man, let me cook these beans with nothing. I pureed them, put them in the freezer. I threw them in a blender, put some fruit in there, poured a little apple juice in it. And I was like, oh, this is good. Yeah. I started teaching my children. That became dessert. And that way we were still getting our navy bean. So you have to look at different things that you can do. Some sisters making cakes out of the navy bean. I have one. I'm not going to say what it is, but I do have a recipe I'm working on. And inshallah, it works. If it works well, you all will see it. And that's going to be something, a recipe I'm just going to give away free, because I believe it will help us all. But the intake of the navy bean itself, it doesn't have to be in the form of soup.
Right. And then the other thing that you can also do, Brother Fitzroy, is that you can, maybe reach out to some other people and other believers in maybe some of the cities that you may frequent on some of a regular basis. And maybe all you need is just a couple of days or however many days it's going to take you to get there, and you can get resupplied there. So that's just another thought process. I know I'm working right now with two young sisters here in Houston that are making bean soup for my patients, because it doesn't make a difference what a person's problem is. I am going to prescribe bean soup. You know what I mean? So I have a couple sisters working here, but I eventually want to connect myself with people all over the country. I know some people in Chicago. I know some people in California. But that's what I want to do, is connect myself with people in Atlanta. I want to connect myself with people all over the country, for people like you and other people that maybe don't have the time or don't know how, and they have access to navy beans too, because it needs to be in all of our diets for sure. Darlene Paisley says, my daughter, Sister Shaniqua Muhammad, has blessed me with watching Dr. Akili. I've learned so much from you and Dr. May God continue to bless you and your family. Thank you very much, ma'am. Praise be to Allah, I can help you. Donna Carter, what natural herb helps with multifocal motor neuropathy? Right off the top of my head, the only one that I can mention right now would be skullcap. But you're probably going to have to reach out to me, because I probably have to ask more questions. Multifocal motor neuropathy can be the result of more than one thing. So it really would depend on, what is associated with it, what may have been associated with causing it. Is it? There are just so many different aspects. So please reach out to me. Again, I said I'll put the information up. Brian Thomas Muhammad, thank you for coming in. Pamela Bashir says, does Ramadan officially start tomorrow? Yes, ma'am. That's my understanding. Tomorrow we will be fasting after our Fajr prayer. Carl Brown says, doctor made a mistake of eating a store ice cream that was full of sugar, had this pain in my leg for a day, had a bowel movement, then the pain went right away. That's what white sugar is, poison. Absolutely. Anybody that has a very clean system will have some serious issues when you put that type of stuff in your body.
Right.
Hodari Muhammad says, assalamu alaikum. Love this, brothers. Thank you. Thank you for coming in, my brother. Carl Brown. Yes. Carl Brown says, no, sister. Okay. I thought I saw another question. Damon Muhammad, Connie Muhammad, Calvin X. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you all for coming in. Calvin says, Calvin X Valerie says, I already started with the sea salt and water. Oh, that's great. Let us know what kind of what kind of change, or what did you see once you did that? Roxanne Muhammad says, when is the best time of day to exercise during Ramadan? Is it safe to exercise without drinking water?
I'll speak from my own personal experience.
Yes, sir.
What I normally do is I actually changed my exercising in the night. And so that was after I break my fast. And if it's a night that I don't eat, I break my fast with some water, and I may even get a cup of coffee. It just kind of depends. Nothing strong, but that's when I would do it because I knew at that point after that I'm showering and I'm going to bed, and then I'll be up again in a few hours for Project Prayer. And that's what I found that worked best for me. Although I have done some very physical work during the daytime, during Ramadan, in the summertime, high heat. And what I did was I made sure that morning I hydrated myself uh, before I left out, which helped me to get through that physical work, which was like a workout. But I think it's really just depend on the individual, and at all costs, be safe.
Absolutely. I would say the same thing. Typically I do my workouts in the middle of the day when my schedule permits. I'm like, 12, 1, 2 o'clock when it's the hottest, because I know that there's a benefit of going in the sauna. So instead of having to find some place to go to a sauna, I make my sauna a natural reality, put on some heavy clothes, get out there, work out, get sweating, and start taking stuff off if it gets too hot. But I can't do that during Ramadan. It wears me out too much. Sometimes I can cause myself to get cramps and things like that. So I do the same thing. I'll wait till later in the evening when it starts to get a little cooler, not necessarily cool, but what I know is that by the time I finish my workout, I'll be able to come home, and within 30 minutes to an hour, it's time for me to get hydrated and get ready to get into prayer. So once I get that sea salt and water, when I go out and work like that, I'm good until it's time to eat. And if that's a day that I don't eat, I'm pretty good. So I do not think it is safe to exercise without drinking water, because when you are exercising, if you're doing it in the right climate, like some people exercise in gyms, if they have the air conditioning on, you might not lose that much. But if you're working outside or you're working in an environment where it's kind of warm, like some of these warehouses that they turned into gyms, you are losing water through your sweat. You're losing water because you're making some urine, even though it's not as much as it will if you were not working out. But you're also losing water from your breath. When you breathe hard, you're blowing out water, and so it's not a good thing to take your body in strenuous exercise towards dehydration. You can get to causing damage in the body that may not necessarily be life-threatening, but it definitely is not the easiest thing on the body. Understand that every time we do any type of physical, laborious work or serious workouts, we do cause a little bit of damage to the body that has to go in and fix. And so we want to make sure that we give it the best chance to make that recovery. Okay, so let us know if we answered your question. Tracy Harris says, I am an insulin-dependent diabetic who takes 3 different types of insulins per day, and Victoza in AM, Toheo in the PM, and Humalog with meals. I'm also hypertensive and take 3 meds for this per day. Is fasting for several days beneficial for someone like me? Absolutely, fasting is beneficial for you, but that would not be something I would suggest unless either you go to your doctor and talk to him about it, or set up a consultation with me and let's sit down and map out a plan that would be protective for you, because that mostly the insulin and the diabetic medicine that you take has to be monitored pretty closely, because you can get yourself into a lot of danger taking those type of medications. Of course, I'm sure, as you know, but just information for the rest of the people here. The sugar going high is not dangerous for right now. That's dangerous years down the line. Bottoming out and having your sugars go down is what can kill you today. And so that would be my concern with you, Ms. Harris, is that taking all those medications, fasting, your sugar could drop, and that is when you are most at damage to having something, major happen to you. So again, either reach out to your doctor, or in a little bit, I'll put my information up there. If you want to talk to me about it, I'd be happy to.
And, Dr. I can add to that. I take that back, not add to that, but to others who are taking medication, because we do get questions about, can I participate in the fast of Ramadan? I'm on medication, I have prescription. And I always advise that you go to your primary care physician. and you go ask. Sometimes you're on a medication, or you have Dr. Keeley here. They have studied this science and this art. You know, they can help you take the guesswork out of it.
That's right.
You don't have to experiment on ourselves like this, because oftentimes the answers are already there. So, go to them, and sometimes you'll have a doctor that can put you on a regimen and change the frequency of it based off of your health condition.
Yes.
That will allow you to fast. Sometimes you might have to take it at 4:30 in the morning, 5 in the morning, and you might not be taking it again until 8 at night. Also, some of us, the fasting, we also taught that Allah, God, does not desire hardship on us.
That's right.
And if it is hard for you and you find it's just too difficult, He says that you can feed a poor person. Continue to pray, continue to study, continue to work on yourself, feed a poor person. And that can count for your fasting for the day, and make it up later. Make it up when you're able to. The idea is to live and live life abundantly.
That's right. And let me also add this. If you go to your doctor, and if that was your plan, is to go to your doctor and talk to them about it, and they do say that they don't think you should fast, then you should get a second opinion. Because I don't care how sick you are, how many medications you take, or how many medical problems you have, starting and trying to learn how to fast is definitely something that you have to do in order to get yourself going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
A doctor that is ignorant about fasting can't really help you. So I just want to put that last statement. I think we got a whole bunch of yeses on. Do they want us to do more shows? Kiyama Shabazz says yes. Brian Thomas Muhammad said yes. Calvin X said yes. So there you go, brother Brandon. You're going to have to get busy in that kitchen, brother.
Yes, sir.
Sister Lynette says, so appreciative of the conversation and dialogue. Very informative. But thank you, ma'am. That's why we're doing it. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for a great question. Natalie Gwynn says, what about fasting for people on dialysis? Same thing. I mean, my first question to every person that is on dialysis is, do you still make urine? And most people that are on dialysis still make urine. You cannot make urine unless there are some nephrons of your kidney that are still working. So that means your kidney is not totally dead. And so the question only is, if you are the type of person that wants to do something different, do you want to get off dialysis? Do you want to be able to allow your kidneys to do the work that they are made to do? And if the answer is yes, then what are you willing to do? I can't answer that question today on how you could fast as a dialysis patient, but if that's something that you want to do, I'm looking for a dialysis patient to work with, because I haven't been successful in anybody that is on dialysis yet. But it's not because I'm not willing, it's because they aren't willing to make the sacrifice. So if you or anybody that's listening that is on dialysis, or if you have kidney trouble and it seems like you're heading towards dialysis, I have helped people stay away from dialysis for long periods of time until they stop doing what they were supposed to do. And those who I've worked with in the past that are on dialysis, they just didn't commit to the program. And so they weren't successful. But I believe you can be successful. And as I said before, it doesn't make a difference what medical problem. It doesn't make a difference how many medicines you take. And it doesn't make a difference how long you've had those medical problems. I believe fasting is one of the best things you can do. Why? Because the Hon Elijah Muhammad says it right in his book. And this is my Bible when it comes to health, right? He said that fasting is the cure for 90% of our illnesses. He didn't say that once. He said that a couple of times. And so that's why I'm saying to everybody on here that is not a Muslim, do this fast with us anyway, because you are going to see spiritual gains. You're going to see psychological gains. You're going to see mental gains. You're going to see physical gains. And at the end of this fast, you will clearly say to yourself, I am better. Now, unless you're just doing something that's totally wrong. But the point that I'm getting to is that if you're listening to the two of us talk today and you try to apply some of the things that we're talking about. If you try to stay in touch with us, and let's make sure we just touch base. If you have a question, if you have any difficulty, reach out to one of us and let us know. If you ask me a question that I can't answer, I'm going to give it to him. If he can't answer a question, he's going to give it to me. You're going to get your answer one way or the other. But I promise you, if you strive and you listen to some of the information we're giving you, 30 days from now, you will be a better person. And I'm only talking about the physical perspective of what is wrong with your body, pains, high blood pressure, diabetes. All of those things will be a little bit better, and maybe even majorly better in 30 days.
That's right. That's right. No, brother, absolutely right. And again, I have to go back to this whole coronavirus ordeal. You know, for me and my wife, we fasted, we ate every 3 days. Now, what that looks like, that means that we eat 10 times a month. Okay. And we're dealing with math. Eating
Right.
10 times a month.
That's right.
And we're like, what? Oh, I would die. No, there are people who have died from the coronavirus who ate all day long. And some of them did not have the immune system to fight it. And it's not that eating all day long is what's going to cause you to be ill or not be able to fight it, but eating all day long breaks down your immune system. And because our immune system was built up, we were able to fight off something that is foreign to us. The human body, as we know, and scientists will bear witness, has the capability of living 1,000 years.
That's right.
Many of us will say, oh, I don't believe that. We're not speaking of belief, we're speaking of fact.
Fact.
And you ask me, well, go find somebody 1,000 years old. And I can't do that. But what I can tell you is that what we have and what we are practicing is millions of years old. This is nothing new, and the science has proven it over and over and over again. And with that said, this is something that I tell people all the time, that I'm going to have a celebration for my 150th birth anniversary. I want you there.
You know I'm going to be there, bro.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to get my piece of cake that day, too.
You can do the West Coast two-step.
That's right. That's right. So again, you know, everybody that is here with us, we appreciate you coming in. We appreciate you asking these great questions. We pray that you all are enjoying the show, and mostly we pray that you're getting some information, some news that you can use as we go into Ramadan tomorrow. Carl Brown says, got to Dutch Meadow Farms for raw milk. They will ship it by UPS all over the country. The price is reasonable for a gallon of milk. Thank you for that information, Carl Brown. So anybody that may not have access, check out Dutch Meadow Farms. I'm sure you can pull that up after the show is over. If I remember to come back and check that, I will try to find that address and put it on here for you. Dolores Muhammad says bean hummus is delicious. Kenya Vaughn, thank you for coming in. Appreciate you. Maxine Bland, thank you for coming in.
Also, Dr. Keeley, I did get some questions in advance.
Okay.
And I will address some of them. One of them, I did receive a question.
Well, let me throw this to you just in case somebody has already asked that. Somebody asked you, can you talk about your experience with every 3 days?
I love it.
I just wanted to put it out there, bro, just in case any of the other questions were similar. So you can take it and, you know, go to the other ones or answer that one wherever you want to. Go ahead with it.
Yes, sir. And I apologize to the brother who did email me. I forgot his name, but the question was, with the raw milk, do you heat it before you drink it? And I'll tell you, I was told by Sister Chef Dolores Ali, and Allah be pleased with her, who was one of the chefs for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. She said that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad would get raw milk that wherever they would get it from the farm. I remember. And she said Mother Clara herself would go to the stove and heat it a little bit and would pour it in his glass for him to drink the warm milk. And so in that, there was a process of heating it, not necessarily homogenization or pasteurization. But it said that she would heat it a little bit, and it was to kill the bacteria. She wasn't boiling, it wasn't a rolling boil. She did tell me that. Now, I'll say this, I'll leave that up to the individual. I do not recommend that you just give plain old raw milk to infants um, and certain other health ailments. And Dr. Keeley can speak more to that than I can. I will say this with the contracting the coronavirus, when we would break our fast, oftentimes it would be one of these glasses and it would be full of raw milk. One day I drank a half a gallon by myself of the raw milk and had my bean soup, had my whole wheat bread. And again, 3 weeks later, you know, we feeling good. We're
That's
feeling
right.
good, you know. So that is a part of my experience with the every 3 days. Um, I will say, when you do eat, you got to eat that navy bean. You got to have that at every meal. It
That's
helps
right.
you to get through the day. You have to balance out your starches, your sugars. Don't overindulge. And for now that, especially for those who are vegetarian, I don't know why, but we seem to start craving sugars. And you have to watch that. You just have to be very careful with that. But if you're eating the there was a chart I was looking at for someone my age and height, 45 years old, standing 5'8". It said that I should have 65 grams of protein a day or with my meals. And so when I looked at that, that turned out to be 2 cups of cooked navy beans, 2 slices of whole wheat bread, 2 boiled eggs, and a 16-ounce glass of milk.
Wow.
Boom. Now, I said, well, that's a meal.
Yeah.
I can't eat nothing else after that.
Right. Yeah. That's a
I'm
lot. That's a lot. Yeah.
65 grams of
Right.
protein. That's a lot.
Yes.
So that is what this world recommends.
Right.
But not eating every day. If I overstuff myself, I'll be miserable the next day.
Yeah. And another thing that I want everybody to pay attention to is that obviously the information that we're getting from the mainstream media and the mainstream medical industry couldn't be the best information because that's what they say. The general recommendations for not like 80 and 90-year-olds, but for the general population, they suggest somewhere in the range of 50 to 60 grams of protein every day. And here you have one brother that eats one meal every other day, and you have another brother that eats one meal every other day. And Brother Brandon sits about 4 miles away from the camera, but when he comes close, he looked like he's 12. You know what I mean? But the point that I'm getting to is that you have 2 people right in front of you that are proving to you that that can't be true. Because I can put my face next to some of my pictures from 20 years ago, and I look either the same or younger. And I
Yeah.
know this brother looked younger from the day that I met him. You know what I'm saying? So we have to start understanding that we espouse a lot of information that has never been
That's right.
justified with science, like 3 meals a day, like 5 meals a day, or 60 grams of protein a day. I don't even pay attention to that garbage because I'm not interested in even considering it. It makes no sense. Question for you, bro. Have you noticed in your experience with 1 meal every other day and 1 meal every 3 days, do you notice that your energy level is different when you may eat a meal and you don't have navy beans from when you do? What is your energy and your ability to be yourself for those 2 days that you're not eating with and without navy bean as your meal?
By all means, I notice a difference. And I'll get an attitude, you know. a bad attitude. you know,
Yes, sir.
there certainly is a difference in the energy and attitude behind that. And so what I found is that it actually helps me get through the day. And when I go the next day, I like coffee. So when I go and I drink my coffee, some days I don't get straight up in the morning and drink coffee. I might not get my first cup till about 1 p.m. You know, because the idea is you give your stomach food when it's calling for it. And if I get to that point, and it's just like when we're fasting during Ramadan, you haven't had anything, your energy can be a little bit down because you're taking in less food and your body's adjusting to it. But after a while, brother, when we're telling you, we can work out on days we don't eat with no
That's right.
problem.
That's right.
No problem. We're stronger. It's a better workout. And I found that I actually work out less. I can go into the gym and don't remember social distancing. I'm not telling you to go into the gym. Find a way to do this outside of the gym where you can get it done. But 30-minute workout, I'm done. And I'm telling you that within 7 days, I look in the mirror and I see a difference. In 7 days,
Yes.
30 minutes. I've never been a gym rat. That was never my thing. And I get in there and I'm not trying to be the biggest, buffest dude in there. I don't care nothing about that. All I care about is, like we used to say, the one-hitter quitter. I got to keep my one-hitter quitter together just in case somebody aggress up on me. I got time to fight, man. I got things to do. I need to get him with that one hit so I can go back to the kitchen and home and do what I'm doing. So I try to keep the triceps together. I try to keep, my stick and move together. But hey, in there, I'm not a bodybuilder. And that was just the desire I had, even when I was an athlete growing up. I didn't desire that, but I have a level of strength that comes from, and I'll say this, not eating meat has increased my strength. I'll say that.
That's right.
It certainly does do that and boost my immune system.
Yeah, I mean, I was one of those people when I was young, before games, I would always want to have a hamburger or some type of meat or something, because that was just the ideology. You had to have something heavy like that before a meal. But I mean, my workouts are at the park, bro. I do my workouts at the park out in the sunshine. And I typically am working out 1.5 to 2 hours. And I know for sure that if I don't have navy beans at my dinner, the next day, my workout's going to be shorter. I'm going to be less. I mean, even the will is less without navy beans. It's just being honest. My wind seems to be shorter, and I definitely afterwards am a lot more beat down. And so I have proven to myself, and this is what I tell, a lot of people when I speak in public like this, I always say, don't just take our word for it. Go do your own experiment. And I would suggest that some of you who either don't do navy beans on a regular basis, or maybe you've never done navy beans, do an experimentation. Like if you're going to do this Ramadan with us, do a whole week just with your normal diet. And then the second week, try the things that we're talking about. Incorporate that navy bean and check yourself and see which week you have more energy. I mean, I believe I already know what the answer is going to be, but it's good for you to go through this yourself so that you can put things in the proper context. I think your screen went sideways, Brother Brandon. I don't know how that happened. But Fitzroy got another question. He says, brothers, can you give your insights on protein powders or protein shakes? Do you see those as assets? Do you have a particular protein powder that you would accept using, or not at all? Brother Brandon, you still with us? I don't know what happened with Brother Brandon. Y'all let me know if you can still hear us. But Brother Fitzroy, my answer to that would be I definitely do not suggest any protein powders, because just about every protein powder I've ever seen in stores is soy-based. Protein shakes I don't suggest for the same reason. Unless you are doing like a smoothie and you put some navy bean in it, I don't suggest putting protein powders or I don't suggest protein shakes. Kenya Vaughn, thank you for that. See what else we got here. Thank you all for giving us those shout outs on the show. I'm not sure what happened to my brother. Maxine said belief is a big part of it. Believe and you will receive. Absolutely. Brother Kenyon says, Brother Brandon, I'm on medication during Ramadan. I drink water while the sun is up, but do not eat until the sun goes down. What is your advice? Well, Brother Brandon, I don't know what happened. Let's see if you can text me. But let me see. You said, I'm on medication during Ramadan. I drink water while the sun is up, but do not eat until the sun goes down. What is your advice? Well, I think, again, we talked earlier about the fact that Ramadan is a sacrifice, right? So if typically you eat during the day and you don't eat during the day during Ramadan, then you're making a sacrifice. If you have to maintain water for the sake of your health, I do believe that God understands. And I do believe that your Ramadan is just as important as anybody else's. At the end of the day, like we said, it's a sacrifice. It's making a sacrifice on the things that you need, the things that you want, the things that you enjoy. And it doesn't have to be the same for everybody. We all have different things that we're going through. So whatever the sacrifice you're going to make for Ramadan, may God bless you. May Allah bless you and strengthen you, and do it with us. And we all going to do it together. Okay, Shefet. Okay, praise God. So I just want to cover a couple of things while we're waiting on Brother Brandon, because I know he has a something he wanted to show you. I just wanted to read something real quick. This is from a speech that the minister did years ago. He said, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked us during the month of Ramadan, when we broke our fast, to eat fish and not eat any land animals. So again, as I said earlier, when Sister Harris asked a question about the fish, it is the best and the cleanest meat. It's swimming around in water all day. So that's definitely going to be cleaner than something on the earth, right? Just make sure that your fish is 10 pounds or less, because the bigger the fish, the tougher the meat, longer the digestion, right? He took us away from the coarse flesh of beef. Then he taught us that no meat or flesh was good for us. Finally, he said to us, the best food for us to eat are fruits and vegetables. Therefore, I'm asking all of the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad under my leadership not to eat any land or sea flesh during the holy month of Ramadan. We will break our fast with fruits and vegetables. These vegetables should be cooked in the manner prescribed by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and how to eat to live. The followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad who are in prison do not have to observe it. And then he goes on to say that we should prepare to observe this diet during the holy month of Ramadan and begin to take ourselves towards a vegetarian diet. This is part of the process of gradually bringing humanity back to the original diet that allowed human beings to live hundreds of years rather than the 70 years given in the Bible. Since the fall of Adam, death was passed to the human family. Therefore, a diet that brought us ultimately death was also given. Prohibiting the eating of all flesh from land and the sea will lengthen our days and give us better health. Okay, so let's all understand that point, that eating animal meat is taxing on the digestive system, and it does wear your body down. It causes the body to go in oxidation, which is the aging process, and it's a lot of work on the digestive system. The more we work the digestive system, the digestive system and the brain are tied together, and they both deteriorate the more and more we eat. Okay, I wanted to read just a couple of things from How to Eat to Live. When Hon Elijah Muhammad talks about Ramadan, he says he chose December in early years of the Nation of Islam because he was trying to get us away from all the falsity of celebrating Christmas, right? And then he talks about so much beer and smoking and gambling and all that kind of stuff was happening. So he wanted us to start working on ourselves in that month when we do a lot of those type of things. So of course, this is nothing to belittle the people that practice Christianity. That's not what it is, but it is trying to pull us away from the commercialism of the beauty of what Christians celebrate, right? Going and buying presents and dealing with a Santa Claus and all the things that we do, going in debt to buy presents. That was the kind of stuff that he was trying to bring us out of. So it's not a knock on Black people who are improving their lives through practicing the faith of Christianity. I hope you all understand. But he says, in this month of fasting, we shall keep our minds and hearts clean, and we shall not indulge in the eating of meats, land meats. You may eat fish and such fat products which come from land animals, such as butter and cheese. Let me bring Brother Brandon back in here. So it's okay to eat butter and cheese, right? Brandon mentioned earlier butter and cheese. If those are both made from good milk, then there's nothing negative about that. He said, in this month, we should keep our minds on Allah, who came in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad, my God and your God, and my Savior and Deliverer and your Savior and Deliverer, to whom be praises forever for giving us life after our mental death for 400 years. He said, and during this month, let there be no quarreling or disrupting in our homes or abroad. Well, again, we, Brother Brandon and myself, aren't here to try to force or promote what we practice as our faith on anybody. But what we are saying is that if you look at us, and I'm seeing people that I've been known for a long time, Monique Swigert Good, this is my sister that I went to college with. There is a difference in the way that Brandon looks and I look in comparison to our friends that we went to high school and college with. This is not a knock on them. This is not a put down on them. This is the evidence that we have for everybody to go and look and say, well, man, look at the way these people look. They're doing something different. That's the key word. And so when the Hon Elijah Muhammad talks about his savior and his deliverer, the person that we're talking about, Master Father Muhammad, came for black people and all darker people on earth, all the original people, all the indigenous people. He came for us all, but firstly was to raise up the black men and black women in America. And so again, during this Ramadan, if you apply some of the things that you've heard and that we've talked about today, and you see improvements, then you have to start doing the scientific evaluation in whatever way you plan to do that, in that, man, they gave different information. They're talking about doing something different, and look at the results they are getting. And so, again, not about religion, but it's about how do we start doing something different. If you're looking at your family and the way that they ate as you were coming up, and you watch your grandmama get sick and die, you watch your mama get sick and die, you watch your aunts and uncles get sick and die, it's time for us to realize that looking at the way we eat, looking at the way we think, looking at the way we take care of ourselves, and looking at the way we process just information in general, we have to start doing something different if we want a different income. Brother Brandon, it's back on you, brother. You was gone for a minute. You had a little vacation, bro, like that day.
You know, actually, a true battery died is what happened. And a full charge. So, but I'll say this, just to add on to what you just said, there's an old saying that sums that up. Same actions, same results. If you want different results, then you have to have different actions. If you continue to do the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different result, that is defined as insanity. In the streets, that's called crazy as hell. You crazy as hell if you think you're going to keep doing the same thing and get a different result. There is no logic in that. And so we should never escape logic. We should never escape basic mathematics in trying to achieve anything. There is one other thing, and this is on my Twitter page. And I heard this on a radio interview years ago, that change is inevitable.
That's right.
You cannot stop change, but progress is a decision.
Come on now.
Do you want to be better?
That's right.
Then you have to decide to be better. Stop looking for the magic cure.
That's right.
We have to change the paradigm of what eating is.
Come on, bro.
What we've been given as eating and what we've been given as healthy, which means whole and holy, is not. There's nothing holy about the pig. I don't care what you think about me for saying that. But there's nothing holy about it.
That's right.
Okay? Now, stop eating it. That's the first thing you got to do. You got to get off of it. I know your grandmama lived to be 70. I know your grandma lived to be 80. And she still got short change when she could have won 1,000.
That's right.
Now, if I give you $1,000 and you say, hey, can I borrow $1,000? I say, yeah, here, I give it to you. And you come back to pay me with $73, man, you ought to know it's going to be a fight.
Automatic.
Way short.
That's right.
Right? You are offensive now.
That's right.
Now, how offensive are we to God?
Come on now.
You don't even make an honest attempt at preserving the gift of life that He gave us. The Most Hon Elijah Muhammad said, gave us how to eat to live. He said,
That's
if
right.
you don't eat certain things, don't eat all day, fast regularly, if you want to live a long time. If you
Yes, sir.
don't, hey, and you got something valuable, add Chef Brandon to your will.
That's
I'll
right.
give you.
That's right. All right, bro. So we got the comments have kind of slowed down. We got a couple. Maxine Bland said, as you were talking, insane in the membrane. We remember that song from back in the day. A couple more things that we can address, I guess, while you're getting ready for your example that you're going to show. One was from Jamila Workout Lasker, says, I am on anxiety medications. Can I do Ramadan? And then the other one is from Cherie New. She says, I'm curious. I've noticed several vegans, white and black, look a little older than they should. Do you have any idea what they are doing or not doing to cause this? And I'm sure both of us have good answers for you both. So I'm going to jump on this anxiety one, bro. We'll deal with that, and then we'll come back to Cherie New, okay? Both of you
Yeah.
are asking, I think, excellent questions, very practical and applicable questions. So let's get into it. As far as anxiety, anxiety is a normal aspect of life, right? Let's just imagine for a minute that me and Brother Brandon are both in his kitchen, right? I'm there with him. And one of us says, damn, what this dude coming in the door with this gun for? If we both are sitting there in a normal perspective and real calm like we are now, you would say something wrong with them dudes. So anxiety is a normal aspect of dealing with what's going on in life. It's part of the way that we keep ourselves protected. There's a fight or flight system in the human body that's very tied to anxiety. So anxiety, when a person has it chronically, is usually because of something that is missing either in your meditation or mental practices. And I'm not trying to say that something is wrong with you. I'm saying that there's something that you aren't taking into consideration. There's some aspect of something that is staying on your mind. And a lot of times it has to do with what you are processing, but just not maybe coming up with the right answer, or maybe just not putting any effort to it. What do I mean? If I have 8 bills to pay and that's stressing my mind, the way to get that off of your mind is to say, I only have enough money to pay for 6 of them. So I'm going to write these checks, or I'm going to get online and pay 6 of these. And I'm going to call the other companies and say, can you give me another 2 weeks? If you are stressed out about those 8 bills, once you do that activity, the stress is gone because you just worked towards what your mind was stressed about, and it gives you a sense of peace. So Jamila Workout Lasker, what I would suggest is, yes, do Ramadan and watch how your activity, if you are a Christian, you don't have to read the Quran with us. Read the Bible every day.
That's
See,
right.
we're responsible for reading a certain amount of the Quran every day, so that at the end of 30 days, we have finished all 30 parts of the Quran, which means we finished the whole book. But how about if somebody is a Christian and they want to do Ramadan with us, that you break, let's say, the New Testament. Look at how many pages are in your New Testament and say, if I read however many pages a day, whether it's 30 or less, I'm sorry, not 30 or less, but I'm saying just whatever number of pages that you think you could handle in a day, then read that and watch how putting God's information in your mind, and then maybe having conversations with us. What I have done over the last few years of practicing Ramadan is, while I'm reading the Quran, every time I come to a verse or a section in the Quran that's talking about something that I know I read in the Bible, I'll go look it up in the Bible. And so I've made notes in my phone, and I continue doing it every year. Not something similar. I'm talking about absolute congruence. The Bible and the Quran are not saying similar things. It's saying the same thing. It just said it in a different word, different way, because it came from different prophets. That's all it is. And so what I know is that reading Quran brings me peace. Reading the Quran brings me solace. Praying with my wife brings me solace. Having, like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, try not to have the quarreling. I do the best I can all the time not to quarrel with my wife, but it doesn't happen all the time. But during Ramadan, we put extra effort into not quarreling. That brings me peace. So, sister, if you have any other questions, Brother Brandon's going to touch this. But while we're talking, if you have any other questions on if we can help you, or if we are answering, let us know. But go ahead, take that, bro.
I mean, you really hit everything. you really did. But I don't have nothing to add to that, brother. You hit it.
Okay, well then go to the next one. Then go to the next one. But it said I noticed several vegans, white and black, look a little older than they should. Do you have any ideas what they are doing or not doing to cause this?
Yes. Not eating to live. And that's the
That's
simplest
basic point, huh?
I can give you. To give you a little detail in that, the Hon Elijah Muhammad gives us a diet and how to eat to live. And it is a plant-based diet. It is not a vegan diet, but it is a plant-based diet. And oftentimes what we're finding today with vegan diets that there is a trend. It's a trendy diet now to
That's
eat
right.
fake meat. And so we are trying to move away from bad processed meats and bad processed foods. And some of us will say, well, I'm vegan now. And then we go into processed vegan foods. The processing of the food is part of the problem. Now, years ago, 150 years ago, 200 years ago, we didn't have the ailments that we suffer from today in such fast numbers.
That's right.
Because the people were eating fresh food. So some of them, I know some who will, everything they eat has a label on it.
Right.
If I
Facts.
decided that I wanted to be a vegan, that wouldn't be my diet. Not at all.
That's right.
And why am I chasing meat? Why am I chasing a meat taste, meat flavor? What am I trying to get out of that? It's, if you want it, I tell you, a brother used to say to me, there was some ginseng drinks that some friends used to drink, and it had a small alcohol content in it, and one friend would drink too many of them, and he'd get a little buzz. And he used to tell him, he said, man, I'd have more respect out of you if you just got a fifth of Hennessy. Instead of trying to drink ginseng, calling it healthy, and you're really just trying to get a buzz.
Right.
Some of these people are not eating to live. They have high contents of soy in their diet. It's veganism doesn't mean health, and it doesn't mean longer life. But eating to live, as the Most High Elijah Muhammad teaches in How to Eat to Live, Book 1 and Book 2, is what helps us get the life. Obeying that is what helps us get the long life, reverses the aging process, all of those things. And you can go to store.finalcall.com and order those books. They're only $5. You can get them both for $5.
That's right.
Store.finalcall.com.
That's right. And if I may add to the vegan conversation, my sister, I've been practicing medicine now for 25 years. I've had many vegan patients. And the things that I have consistently seen in vegans is calcium deficiency, iron deficiency, and I've also seen that many of them have thyroid issues. Why? Because they eat a lot of green leafy vegetables. The Hon Elijah Muhammad tells us in book 2 not to eat a lot of green leafy vegetables.
That's right.
These people have a tendency to go and do these studies, and they find all these nutrients in Swiss chard and turnip greens and kale. And it may be in there. I'm not going to sit around and argue with anybody that the nutrients are in that food. The problem is that you cannot digest those type of foods. Right. And the way that you can prove it to yourself is to watch your stool. If you eat kale, chard, greens, turnip greens, whatever type of greens you like, make a nice pot of them and eat them like you normally do. And what you'll notice over the next couple of days is you'll be green stuff in your stool. Now, once you finish eating those greens, wait a couple of days until your stool clears up, and then make a big old pot of broccoli and asparagus and Brussels sprouts and cabbage and watch your stool, and you won't see anything green. The difference between those foods are that you cannot digest the green leafy vegetables and you can digest those other ones. And that's one of the examples that I always use to tell people. Like, when I talk about how to eat to live, I'm really not promoting a religion. I'm promoting a scientific lifestyle that I have watched over the last 17 years prove that it is superior to everything else. I've done the Mediterranean diet. I've never done the vegan diet because it never made any sense to me. It never made sense to me how a man produced a diet based on the fact that he didn't want to harm animals. That was his scientific basis for a vegan lifestyle. Now, a ethereal person, a thinking person, has to come from the perspective that, okay, here's a human body. What needs does it have? What vitamins, what nutrients, what phytonutrients does it take to run this body correctly? And then you go find the foods that have those nutrients at the highest quality, at the easiest digestion rate for this human body. And the honest truth is that veganism is nowhere close to that. And I'm not knocking the people that are doing veganism, but I'm knocking the reality that veganism is not a good choice, because although there are many people on YouTube and other social media sites talking and building up veganism, I am for sure that it is not good for you. Every vegan that I know of has a multitude of supplements that they have to take because they're missing so many things in their diet. These two brothers that you're talking to right here, I haven't taken vitamins since 2003. I don't take any herbs. I eat the foods that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says in How to Eat to Live. And for the last going into 6 years, every other day. And I have no medical problems that supposedly run in my family. I have no aches, no pains. When I started eating How to Eat to Live, my cholesterol was 328. And within a year, I had it down to 145. And so this diet, not like this lifestyle that we're discussing with you today, again, don't take our word for it. Try us for 30 days.
That's right.
And even if you're not able to fast all the way into the end of the day every day, just go as long as you can every day and just stick with us. Stick with us for as long as you can and just continue to make improvements and some changes, as many as you can make comfortably. And I shouldn't say comfortably, not comfortably, sacrifice and make as many changes as you can. And watch at the end of these 30 days, you will be able to say the same thing we're saying, that, hey, I've seen some great benefits just in 30 days. Okay. So let us know if we answered your question about that veganism, ma'am. And then my brother, I answered this question and I'm going to give it back to you, bro. He asked a question about protein powder. Or he asked a question about protein powder as a doing that for protein. And his statement here after I answered, he said, "Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. However, I have discovered some protein powders that are vegan-based, plant-based." And brother, just to let you know, I mean, that's one of the main things that I do is research stuff, and I go in and out of stores and I go online and just search stuff. And I'm just being honest with you. Even the vegan-based, plant-based protein powders, 99% of the time are soy-based or milk-based. And when it's milk-based, it's the leftover processed waste material from the milk industry. And same with soy. The soy for most protein powders is the waste product after they do whatever else they do with the soybean. And that's just my experience, brother. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but just to answer the question, I personally don't suggest any protein powders. The navy bean, the vegetables that I eat, the milk that I drink, and the wheat bread that I eat gives me all of the protein that I'll ever need for any physical thing that I need to do. Anything on that, Brother Brandon?
I'll say this. There was years ago, I went to a place, and I'm going to just say the name of it. But it was a Jamba Juice, if you ever been to these places. And I went and ordered me a little drink, smoothie. Little girl behind the counter, she said, "Sir, would you like some protein in it?" And I said, "Yeah, okay." And I said, wait. I said, what kind of protein is that? And she says, "It's just a powder. We just scoop it in." And I said, "But do you know what it's made from? Is it animal protein?" And she said, "No, it's vegan." And so I had her ask the manager. She comes back and the manager says, "Oh, it's just soy." And I said, "Oh, okay, no, thank you."
That's right.
And just make my drink. This was years ago.
Right.
And so I leave out of there. And as I'm drinking, I thought about it. I said, man, they've been throwing soybean in there. and that's the protein that they're using. And it just clicked. Well, why don't I throw the navy bean in mine? Because that was the bean that the God prescribed for us.
That's right.
It was a no-brainer for me.
That's
and
right.
right now to this day, that's what we do with our smoothies, our drinks. That is the protein.
And Smoothie King is the same way. Just so y'all know, Smoothie King, their protein is soy.
Wow.
Here's a question for you, bro.
Elijah Muhammad said to keep your mouth out the white man's kitchen. And basically what that means is grow and prepare your own food.
Hey, can't lose that way. Black, thank you for coming in. He said, Brother Chef Brandon, what are the best cookbooks to purchase?
Mine. Oh, I'll say this in all honesty, and certainly, you can't get mine on Amazon, Cook to Live with Chef Brandon and family. But in the Nation of Islam, we have a diet that is like no other. No one else has the diet. Everyone does not follow it as prescribed. But there are cookbooks from brothers and sisters in the Nation of Islam who, some of the recipes, and I'm a fan of many of them. I enjoy food. I enjoy eating. But I've had some from my brothers and sisters, and it is, just phenomenal. You can, and maybe, Dr. Keeley, we ought to put up some links for it. There is a video that we can add. You will see some of the chefs in the Nation of Islam who are doing the How to Eat to Live Chef Challenge. And we're promoting How to Eat to Live and some other products and services that we've developed. But in that, at the end of the video, there is social media contact information for every chef featured in the video. Almost all of us have some instructional booklet or videos that are available. And so I urge you to go get them. And what you're
tell me that one more time, man. What's the name of your book? Cooking what? Cook
to Live with Chef Brandon and Family. And it's an ebook on Amazon.
Okay.
That was out of print. We brought it back because
Cooking to Live with Chef Brandon and his family.
And family. This came out in 2015. But there are more that are coming. And so be on the lookout for this. See, we amped up now. There's no looking back now. There are, several, when I tell you several believers, they got some good cookbooks, they got some good food. Those are the ones that I would go after without question. It rooted in the teachings of the Most Hon Elijah Muhammad that come from the books, How to Eat to Live, books 1 and 2. Those are the ones that I recommend.
Yes, sir. Somebody says, how do you feel about, Hassan M asks about mineral water.
About mineral water?
Mineral water. How do you feel about mineral water?
Me personally, I don't. I try.
Spring water. Stay away from the mineral water because you never know how they put it in there or what they put in there. Stick with what God makes.
I'll say if you're a scientist on that level and you understand how to extract the harmful contents of the water, that's something that you need to teach the rest of us. And adding minerals and things to water, a lot of times these things are added because we're deficient, and it goes back to this new paradigm of eating. Right now, we are focused on this food pyramid, and we say, and all of these scientists and these studies come out and they say, well, you're supposed to have this, you're supposed to have this, you're supposed to have this, but nobody ever asks, who said? Says who?
Right.
Where did you get it from? And when you look at the food pyramid, many are surprised to find out that did not come from the medical industry.
That's right.
That was propaganda pushed by the agricultural industry.
That's right.
And so if you notice that there are more food, more grains that are on there than anything else.
That's right.
Well, the grains are the food that both humans and animals can eat. And so the grain farmers, when they grow it, they give it to the cattle, they give it to the animals, they give it to the chicken and whatever else they're feeding, the hogs. And then they have surplus. And so the best way to get rid of it is sell it to people. And so we get in school this food pyramid, and it started, hey, eat this, eat this, eat this. But none of us are questioning, where did this come from? Who says, who? You know, how did this come about? Because when you look and you go in both Bible and Quran, and as Muslims, we study from both books, that does not match the food pyramid. Does not at all. As a matter of fact, it wasn't until I believe it was the book of Leviticus in the Old Testament that God, Jehovah, gave instructions on a diet that included animals. Prior to that, from Adam to Noah, the people were vegetarian.
Absolutely. That's what it says.
They did not eat meat. And it was, according to scripture, a part of a punishment to the people for being rebellious.
That's right.
Against God and his instruction and his law and his commandments, that he said, now, here, you can eat these animals. And he was taking the lifespan, the average lifespan of about 860 years down to 120. So now you have to ask yourself, if you eat strictly in accord with the book of Leviticus as it is given, how many people can you find living 120 years? See, we continue to deviate because we continue to follow the devil in his path. That is just the absolute truth. I can't make it any clearer or plainer for you, and I can't make us feel better about it. It's just not even in my but I would rather us feel better about knowing the difference between truth and falsehood. Because now once you know the difference, you have to make a choice. In the Holy Quran, in the Surah 2, Al-Baqarah, the cow, the children of Israel went to Moses and they said, Moses, please pray to your God that he give that we can partake of foods other than the lentils, they said, the garlic, the onion, the cucumber. Well, if you take lentils, onion, garlic, and you drop some cucumber in there, that sounds like bean soup to me. Lentil soup. So the children of Israel, who the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us are Black people in America.
That's right. That's right.
They said we want something different other than this bean soup.
That's right.
And so Moses' response to them in the Holy Quran was, would you give up that which is better for that which is worse?
Right.
And so he said, go then, go into the cities, go wherever you want to go and find the foods that you want to eat. And he said, and after that, abasement and humiliation would follow them. That's so what is abasement? Abasement means to be put down at such a low level. You made mockery of, people mistreat you. Growing up, the fat kid always got teased. And no, the fat man still get teased.
That's right.
You become a joke. And it's not right that it's done, but it is the reality that's done.
It is real.
And every person who's in that condition, it's not always there. Some of them simply do not know better. Some of them know better, but don't have anyone to help them to do better and to be better. So I'm not going to put everything on everybody, but I will put it on you once I know you know better, then you're held responsible for doing better.
That's right, brother. Excellent question. Excellent answer. Tied in with those scriptures beautifully. Okay, next question. All right, y'all, we're about to start shutting this down because Brandon still got something he wanted to display to us. So I would try to ask that we try to limit the comments to questions to the ones they are here. And then Brother Brandon has something you want to show us. So Dante Tenna says, is there a list or something like that of all the fruits and vegetables we should eat and how we should eat them? I would say, I'm not sure if this is a male or a female. I apologize. But Dante, maybe probably a brother. I would say what you should do is get How to Eat to Live, because that's the basis of what we're talking about. In essence, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that you can eat all fruits are good for you. Just make sure in modern times they have seeds. because
That's right.
I don't believe when Hon Elijah Muhammad was among us, there were very many or any at all fruits that did not have seeds in them. So just make sure your fruits have seeds. It would be best, because Hon Elijah Muhammad tells us to eat the best of foods. It would be best for you to eat organic food, because you shouldn't be putting pesticides, herbicides, and chemical fertilizers, nor GMO foods in your body. When it comes to the vegetables, the ones that he mentioned in How to Eat to Live is cauliflower, broccoli. I'm sorry, he did not mention broccoli in How to Eat to Live. He mentioned broccoli in a letter that came from one of the people asking him questions. So I'll include that, but it's not in the book.
In the book, that's
Cauliflower,
right.
broccoli, cabbage, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, squash. Those are pretty much the ones that he mentioned in How to Eat to Live. And just understand that anytime you cook a vegetable, you have to add some heat, because vegetables have anti-nutrients that lock the nutrients until you add heat, which is what releases the nutrients. And that's another reason why a lot of vegans have a lot of problems, because they do not heat their food. They eat a lot of raw food, a lot of raw vegetables. And if you eat raw vegetables, you're not going to get the nutrients out of them. And the next question was, how do you keep your B12 up as a vegetarian? And quickly, I'll just say eggs and the milk. But go ahead, brother. You got it.
Totally in agreement.
Yes, sir. Okay, now the next question for you, bro. It says, Brother Eric Harris says, how do you prepare the navy bean to be a protein powder?
Well,
George Allen, thank you for coming in.
I'll tell you what my grandmother used to do. This was one method, and there's several. But she would soak her beans. She'd pick them, wash them, soak them. She would cook them in plain water. She would puree them down in a blender. And then she would take what she pureed, and it was like a paste after she was done with it. So it's not a whole lot of water, but it was like a paste. And then she would take that and spread it onto the screens of a food dehydrator. And she would slide those screens back in and dehydrate the navy beans until they were done. Take it out, break it up with your hand, you drop it in the food processor and break that down, and it's almost like a flour after that point. And she did so many different things with it. That is one way. Another way is that, and I wish I had the brother's website, but there is a brother Donnie, I believe it's out of North Carolina, who sells the dehydrated navy beans. So it's already in a powder for you. Okay. That is one way. Another way, you do not have to dehydrate them unless you're trying to store them without refrigeration. So you can do the same thing as my grandmother did. Sort them, wash them, soak them, cook them, puree them, break it down. And then you can do what I do. I'll put it in a jar, a bowl, or sometimes pour it into an ice tray. I don't know if you're a millennial or not, brother, but you may not know what an ice tray is. Those were things we used to pour water in and put in the freezer and make our own ice, okay? But you can do that with the pureed navy bean and throw it in the freezer, and it's already ready for you. In the event that you want the powder for something like a smoothie or a shake, it's already frozen, and then it's cold as well. So you don't have to add ice to that to break it down.
Great. Pure Black, you said, Dr. Keeley, when are your seminars coming, bro? I've been doing a lot. I do one every Tuesday called the Ultimate Wellness Group Transformation Tuesday. I'm going to put my banner back on the bottom again so you all can have my information, those that are interested. Brother Brandon, it's all yours, man. What kind of demonstration you got for?
Well, if you cut away for a second, I can make sure we get this adjusted, and we'll let everybody see what's going on.
Okay, well, let me cut you off for a second, and then I'll talk to him for a second, and come on back, and it's all yours. So, brothers and sisters, yeah, so you see my information scrolling down there. I'm on IG. I do a weekly thought on Instagram. I do a program every Tuesday called the Ultimate Wellness Group Transformation Tuesday, for those of you who don't know about it. It goes live on Facebook and live on YouTube, where I deal with health-related subjects. We got some really good ones coming up over the next couple of weeks. This coming up Tuesday, I will be doing one with my beautiful wife. We'll be talking about life insurance. because of the climate of where we are right now, and people sometimes die unexpectedly, right? Sometimes things are beyond our control. And so we want to talk about how do we protect our families. It's very common knowledge in the white community that they use life insurance to help set up the next generation to not have financial problems. So we're going to talk about those things, being able to bury your family members instead of going on, Facebook or any of the sites and have to do some type of raising of money to bury people. Let's take that burden off of other people. Let's have the discussion. I know people typically don't like to talk about death, but it's real. It's happening right here in our time frame right now in a major way. So let's have the conversation. The week after that, I got a special guest. I'm not going to tell you what, but then the next couple of weeks after that, I got lung problems coming up. Somebody asked me about bronchitis and asthma and emphysema and all those type of things. So we're going to deal with that. And we're going to have part 2 of how to deal with famine. My brother Tariq is going to come back on. We're going to talk about, things to do with our soil to make it rich, and then the type of foods that we can grow easily and the ways that we can start working our way into being successful, even with the dire situation that looks in the world and in this country. And so it's about empowering you. The Ultimate Wellness Group is about news that you can use. I pray that you got that today. And every time you see me discuss things, I pray that you're getting information that you can walk away from these interactions and go apply and watch them improve your life. And I have to say that I've been getting a lot of feedback over the last few weeks about people that are talking about the benefits that they're getting because they're applying some of the things that they're learning. And that's what I do it for. There's also a lot of negative in social media. People want to come and challenge your knowledge and try to make it seem like they're smarter than you. That's not why I do this. You know what I mean? So that kind of stuff I'm not going to get into. But those of you who truly show your appreciation and truly come back and give those type of testimonies, that's what keeps the fuel going. Somebody asked me this week about what books did I read. So, look forward. Like I said, at the end of the show, I'm going to drop that site so that you all can go look for the milk in whatever area you're in. And also look for later on this week, I'm going to put it on all of my sites. I'm going to talk about the books that I read after How to Eat to Live Changed Everything. Just kind of the books that I read that got me to a place where I can sit and have a conversation like this. Be totally confident in the knowledge that I have. And that confidence came from the fact that I'm looking at the reality of how people are improving. And so you can do the same thing. I always want to give credit where the most credit is due, and that's to How to Eat to Live and Hon Elijah Muhammad. But I also have to give credit to our now ancestors, Dr. Layla O. Africa, Dr. Sabi. They both did great things as standing against a very powerful industry like they both did. They gave our people things that helped them and helped improve their health. I will always be indebted to them. I stand on their shoulders. I gave a big shout out to Dr. Afua. She is somebody who has done a lot for our community as well. In that same way, I stand on her shoulder. And I would say more specifically, I owe a big shout out to Dr. Ali Muhammad, who stood on How to Eat to Live and gave me a platform to see that I could do the same thing. So I'm always indebted to the brothers and the sisters that went before me and made it possible for me to be here and have the ability to stand like I stand. So again, thank you for everybody that's been with us today and the great questions and the interaction. I also would like to thank everybody that is applying what they are hearing from my brother Brandon and myself, and I pray that you continue to. I sit here in front of you all in whatever capacity I have something good to offer. Understand that it was a 17-year process. So be patient with yourself. Don't think that you're going to hear this information and that you're going to be excellent at it in a week, in a month, in a year. It took me 17 years to get where I am today to be able to help you. And so that's the end for me. Let's get back to Brandon and let him do his thing. All right. Thank you all very much. After this, we're going to go ahead and jump up off of here. So we'll see you again on the next show. Peace.
All right. All right. How's that set up? Can we got a good shot there? Okay. So, Dr. Keeley, we got a good shot.
Yes. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Okay.
Yeah, that was
All
beautiful,
right.
bro. That's perfect.
Okay, good deal. So we're gonna keep this real simple, everybody. What also we will put a recipe up for you, and I have actually posted this before and gone public with it. Matter of fact, what we'll do is that's what we'll do. There's a video of it, and so this is just one variation of the bean soups that you can do to break your fast. We don't. It doesn't have to be anything really great, spicy or it's just bursting with flavor because it will be from fasting. Anything you put in your mouth is going to taste like, oh, that's the best crack I ever had, because you haven't had anything to eat in 13 hours. And so, uh, a quick variation. Now, I did mention earlier, I talked about a immersion blender, right? This is an immersion blender or a stick blender. It has blades here on the end. It's generally electric, and there's two buttons here. You press there's a high speed and a low speed. And I use this. This is one of the tools I use to puree my navy beans. And so a lot of times I will make sauces and things of that nature. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take fresh tomato here, right? And the fresh tomato is going in. And believe it or not, you can break this down with the immersion blender, right? And the idea is for those who don't want to use tomato paste or you don't want to use a cooked tomato product, you can do this. I'm sorry, I know it's loud. You can use the fresh tomatoes in there, and it also adds texture to your soup. So that's the first thing we're going to do. This is just pure navy beans cooked in plain water, right? And that's really all I want to do with it. I don't want it. I'm not whipping it, making a shake or anything like that. But this I'm going to take back while it's still hot, and I'm going to put it back on the stove behind me here. Right now, to that, what we're doing is we're going to take our vegetables that we have that are going to soup. Now, I puree the beans because it's a little bit smoother, but I keep the vegetables diced small, or you can do them chunky. It's up to you, right? So we got our hot pan here. First thing we're doing, we're going in with some good olive oil here, all right? And you can use any fat that you like, but with this one, we're going with some olive oil. And by the way, for those who are vegan, this will be vegan. Totally up to you, but it doesn't have to be. You can use butter. Sometimes I like to throw butter in mine at the end. I like the flavor of it, all right? So to this, I'm going to take, I got some onion and celery here. And we're basically what we're doing is we're sauteing these vegetables down, okay? And the reason we're sauteing them is just to soften them up a little bit. We don't want them to be crunchy per se, but to be al dente and have a little bite on it is fine. Also to that, I'm going to add, I got two different types of bell pepper here. You can use 2 or 3, it's up to you. But I like the color in it, and it helps with the appearance of the soup by having the different colors in there. That's why I went with the purple onion or the red onion. Okay. Now we also will have our minced garlic, but if you put the garlic in too early, the garlic can burn, which is something we don't want to happen. And when it begins to burn, I like roasted garlic, but when it begins to burn, it gets bitter, and that bitterness will come through in your food. And trust me, you don't want nobody sitting around the table looking at you because you done made the food bitter. All right, something that could have been so lovely and wonderful. Now, I'll however long that you saute the vegetables is totally up to you. Okay. I don't saute them all the way down to where they're soft and they just slide away in your mouth. I do like to chew on them a little bit. That's what I do. And it's for texture. And then it also does not cook them down all the way. So I still got a little bit of the nutrients that will come from some of the rawness of the vegetables. Now I'll go ahead and put my garlic in. And that's a minced garlic. If you want to slice your garlic, that's fine. You can do that. If you want to add shallots to it, you can do that as well. This is also the point to where if you want, you can put, if you got fresh herbs, you can put your fresh herbs in there at this point as well. Now, boy, and I know you've heard people say this before about smell-o-vision, but I wish y'all could smell this. But if you ever had, I'll tell you this, if you ever want to make people think that you really know how to cook and that you just this bomb cook, saute some onion, bell pepper, and garlic in the skillet. You ain't even got to have it on high, have it on real low and just keep the lid on, and you know how good that smells. This will draw people from miles away. All right. So now again, I'm going to add my dry spices. So I got a little bit of thyme in there and a little bit of oregano. Okay. See, I'll put basil in there as well. All right. So my dry spices, I have an onion powder, I have a garlic powder, and I also have turmeric in there. Now we know, if you don't know, you should know the value of having onion and garlic in your diet. The Most Hon Elijah Muhammad said, eat as much as you can take. The turmeric is also good for the blood as well, helps with inflammation. We are talking about eating to live, all right? Turmeric is also, you'll find that in curry dishes as well. And it does, when it's dry like this, it does have to be cooked down some. If it's not, it can upset your stomach, okay? So you want to be careful with that. Now, the last of the spices I have, this is black pepper. I have some ground cumin. I have chili powder. I have smoked paprika and cayenne pepper. Be careful with your cayenne pepper at this state, because this is when, if you're not careful, you can start choking from breathing that in, okay? You want to be very, very careful with that. Now, some of this, the dry spices, if your fire is too high, will begin to burn and cook down. But I do want to have a low fry to a degree, is what we may call it, in there with it. And it, because it helps to bring those flavors out. All right. The other way, if you want to bring the flavors out, you can slow cook your vegetables, your onion and your fresh garlic. Just slow cook it. All right. And it will bring the flavors out. Adding the dry spices is another way to do it. I wish y'all could smell this. All right. So now, to that, we're going to do what's called deglaze the pan. And basically just stop that stuff from sticking on the bottom. And I keep a pot of boiling water going when I'm cooking. And what that does is to help pull all of these flavors up on the bottom. Now, there's that good stuff down in there. You can see that, and you see how the color is darkened up and deepened. Now, when we add our navy beans to this with our fresh tomato, it's going to pop. Lower your fire a little bit. Now I'm going to take this pot of the beans and I'm adding that, the pureed navy beans, right in there, okay? Now those beans have already soaked, they've cooked, and they were done, and all I did was puree them. Now, at this point, you can determine where you want to go in terms of spices. Now, you saw me use cumin, you saw me use chili powder, you saw me with the cayenne pepper. I'll say this. This is, you know, some people call this a West Coast bean soup. And I'll take that. I don't care. I love that. You know, I'm from the West Coast, so I'm with it. But I'll say that it does not have to be these spices. Now, there are times to where I don't want the Southwest or the Spanish flavors like with the cumin and so forth. I may decide that I want more of a Mediterranean or an Indian cuisine. And so instead of those spices, I'll put things like cardamom in there. I'll put a little bit of sage in there. Those are spices that we're generally familiar with what we call Mediterranean dishes. And of course, you keep your vegetables the same, your onion, your bell pepper, and your garlic. I do not recommend at all that you add cauliflower and broccoli to the bean soup. And the only reason for that is because it can be high in gas, okay? So you want to be careful with that. Now, at this point, I'm going to go in and I'm going to use a little bit of pink Himalayan salt, all right? You use whatever you like, but I'm going with the pink Himalayan salt because I like the quality of it. I like the flavor of it and the way it comes out in the food. Now, it doesn't have something that contains iodide. It's not going to happen. Not with that. All right. Your basic table salt. The pepper's already in there, and the pepper cooked down in there with the other spices, so it will come through along with the cayenne pepper. Okay, let me take this. Now, we're going to let that simmer for a little while, okay? And what I'm doing with that is I want the flavors to just marry a little bit. I turn the fire down. You're watching it. You want to make sure that it's not bubbling too much. That's not what we want out of this. To go with the meal, in addition to that, I'm going to start toasting some bread. Okay. So I'm toasting some bread because I'm going to serve that with this. All right, with this dish. Now, here's where it gets really fun. This is just some garlic. They roast it in the oven. Okay. With just a tad bit of olive oil, nothing much. And to that, I'm going to add a little honey, garlic and honey, okay, are healing agents. And take that, and you'll see it's just like a little small, like almost like it's a paste is what we're making, okay. That garlic and honey is real good. Now I'll add a pinch, a very small pinch of salt to that, because what it does is it brings the flavor of the onion and the garlic. I'm sorry, the honey and the garlic through. All right. While that is there, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take some more protein for those who desire. Oh, that was noisy. So we got boiled eggs here, okay? Now, some will say, and it is, I'll say this in the culinary world, they're taught that if you have those little gray rings around there, that you overcook the boiled egg. And again, we need a new paradigm, okay? That comes from a thought process of having nearly raw food served as appetizing. That's not what we're going after here, okay? That's not what we want to do. So you can, if you don't have to boil it this long. You can do it. You can do the 3, 4, 5 minutes. It's all up to you. But I like to make sure that the food is done, that it is well done, okay? Now, to that, we have our whole wheat bread that we bake. And we did put that recipe up, right? For those who wanted it. It says whole wheat bread. My wife baked this here at home. All right. To that, we topping that with this honey and garlic toast. Yes, 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 yes. Roasted garlic in an oven. Listen to me. You talk about something. The house, not only did the house smell good, but you know it's going to taste good. You just spread a little bit of that on. Yeah, that's that roasted garlic there. Okay. So now, clean my plate up here a little bit. So I got my toast, with my honey garlic there, and we messed around. We don't use him. And so what I'm doing now is I'm gonna serve that with the boiled egg. Now you can put on your plate whatever you want to put on your plate. It's totally up to you. Okay, but I'm going with the boiled egg. Hit it with a little bit of that Himalayan salt, with a little bit of parsley. And now we coming back over here. Remember this when you're serving, that a spoon to the right of the plate. Okay. Now look at that. That is a good pureed bean soup with the diced vegetables. Just put a little bit in there. Man, I wish y'all could smell this. Let the Lord have mercy. All right. Move this out the way too. Get rid of that hot. So now with this, however you want to serve it, if you want to serve that up with a, if you decide that you want to put, I mean, we use croutons, we'll use cheese, diced onion, more fresh onion on there, which would be really good. But I'm hoping you're getting a good shot of this here. Just want to move it a little bit closer so you can see that.
I think having some type of connection problem. Here it comes. Brother Brandon?
Okay. We back?
Yeah, I lost you for a second. Are you back?
Yes, sir. Okay. Hit it with a little bit of purple onion on there. And we certainly want to complete it with our tall glass of fresh raw milk. All right. This, someone can break their fast on for Ramadan and they'll sleep good. They might oversleep for prayer in the morning if you're not careful. All right. It's not too spicy. It's not too salty. And some of us, I know, I call us flavor heads. We like to hit it with hot sauce and we like all these different things. But you don't necessarily have to add that to it. And there, now you got your bowl of bean soup. Brothers and sisters, if you want to get your
pray he'll be right back. That shoulder's looking good. That's why I want to get up off here so I can go get my own bean soup, y'all. Got some downstairs I got to go warm up. Unless my wife already did it for me. But let's see if he comes back. If not, we're going to go ahead and end the show. Thank you all for sticking around for all this time. I was expecting it just to be a 2-hour show. But, you know, we had to get that demonstration by brother Chef Brandon. So let me check with him real quick. If not, we'll end this and we'll see you all next time. C. McDonald says, is there a prayer line for tomorrow? Yes. You know what? I'll put it up. I'll put the flyer up on here after it's over, okay? Because I still have to put that other link up for the raw milk. Here he is. Here he is. Brother Brandon, you back?
Yes, I know what happened.
All right, you back. Yeah, me either.
So,
Sure look good. You got me hungry over here, man. I'm about to run up off this thing, go get my own bowl of beans too.
so there it is. You got your navy bean soup, your whole wheat bread that we toasted, boiled eggs, and our tall glass of raw milk. And if you didn't catch it, you know, brothers and sisters, you can see this does not take long once your beans are done. Cook your beans in advance, puree them down. And you can, if you like the smooth soup. If you want the whole beans, then you go right ahead. But if you cook them in advance, you put them in a container in the refrigerator, in a jar. You can put them in a freezer bag if you want to freeze them. And like I said before, because we know we're eating, we'll be breaking our fast in almost every city after 8 p.m. I don't think any of us want to wait to 9:30 to eat after we haven't, you know, had anything since 4 a.m.
That's right.
So this is a way to cut down on that. And you don't have to, it's how you eliminate the excuse of not having time. I didn't have time. Right. I've seen Muslims break their fast with pizza, and it just blew my mind. I was like, wow, seriously?
Wow, yeah, that's great.
You had how many hours today? You know, get you a crock pot that can help you, or you can get you a pot and cook these in advance. When you measure out 1 cup of dry beans, that will cook to 2 cups of cooked beans. So whatever your dry bean measurement is, when you cook it, it's going to double. That'll help you determine how many servings you have that you're cooking.
Well, thank you very much, Brother Brandon. That was a wonderful show. I hope everybody enjoyed it. And look, I'm going to speak for Brother Brandon because I know he's with me. But if you all have any questions during Ramadan, come back to this show so that he and I can see your comments, and we will answer them appropriately. If you have any struggles, if you have any questions, if there's something that comes up that you didn't think about tonight. But again, we thank you, brother. I thank you for that wonderful, not only the answers and the example of 1 meal every 3 days, but that beautiful example of that quick, nice meal that everybody's wiping the drool from their mouth while they watch you make it. But thank you, everybody, for all the people that came in to look at it. We thank you very much for coming in. We pray that Allah blesses us all to continue to work on our immune systems, to continue to work on our health, to make it through this Ramadan together as a unit, growing this unity that we have to have in order to make it through the times that are coming up. And so I salute Brother Brandon. I salute all of you all. Thank you very much. And go ahead and close us out, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you all, as always. Thank you for the views. Thank you for the questions. Continue to bring it to us, and we'll continue to bring it to you. Like I said before, and I think we missed it. I know everybody's looking for the bam. I ain't that guy, but I am the original salute, ready, front. I love you. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Wa alaikum assalam, bro.